the mental capacity
for everything that's in my life, but I am now ready for something more. And when you say I'm ready for something into a thought process that leaves us, right? And when it leaves us, that's the minute we lost our power. It's the minute we lost our compute. That is when you fail. You fail the minute you allow your mind to travel outside an outside self. And it's just difficult. It's just a difficult practice.
Mary Lynn.
Oh.
Can I share a little bit my thoughts on the let thing?
If I leave my mic open, I'll be Amelia coming through my mic. Leave my mic open, I'll be coming.
Is that where it's going to give feedback though, Tony? Because that's all I hear is feedback.
Mute your stream.
I am. That's where the screeching is coming from.
Lower your volume on Clubhouse all the way down if you could. No. Sorry about that, guys. Technical challenges. On our stream, we're not getting audio.
It's when other people are talking and it's that other people are talking to speakers. That's what that's about. You have to set his speakers off.
Somebody's in the same room as somebody else with a
It's time for this mute, yes.
All right, I'm gonna mute my mic. Let's see if how that.
Yeah, Tony, it's your mic. When you open up the mic, it causes the screeching. So apologies on that. I don't know what I haven't figured out. Anyway, the thought process that I was jumping on was being able to, like what Tara was saying, energetically being able to keep the continual becoming of best self inside an inside journey. But even if you start from your morning practices, the minute that something happens, you then move outside of self. You go outside of your thinking, and then that's where you give your power away. And so it is a continual practice. But what happens is we have learned so many of these beliefs from the generation before and the generation before. When you unwind storytelling, you start to realize why they told the story, right? The stories are always told in order to help a individual, a family, or a community survive, right? The brain seeks information. It wants a reason. It needs a reason. Why are we starving? Why are we, why is there war? Why is this thing is happening? And so we create stories to fill in the why. And then we pass those stories on to the next generation and the next generation. And most of the time, the generation doesn't even know where the story came from, right? And so one of my favorite things to do with young people is to unwind some of the quippets that we've learned. Many hands make light work. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? All of those come from our history, and they were created from a story of something that was actually happening. So just for example, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There used to be a bathtub in front of a fire with very little hot water, and you bathe from oldest to youngest, and the water got dirtier and dirtier and dirtier. And by the time you got to the infant, you needed to be careful because the water was almost black, that you didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater because you couldn't even find the baby because the water was so dirty, right? That's where that saying actually comes from. Now, we use all different types of meaning to don't throw the baby out with the bathwater now to mean something different that our generation put on it. Or if you're using the quippet, you have a meaning that you're putting on it, right? So meaning just, don't, try to keep the good and don't throw it out with the bad. But it's actually originated from a story of don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, which was to learn something of that was going on in the home, to not accidentally, as you're washing the 8 or 9 kids, as you get down to the youngest one, to throw it out. those type of things are very fascinating. But we're creating our own stories right now, and we're teaching them to the people in our lives, right? So teaching like hard work. You have to work hard in order to be successful. You know, you have to have to income in order to survive. You have to. These are stories that we tell each other, and that then creates uh, it lessens our power and our impact. Like Tara was saying, it lessens our energy in order to be able to actually have the who do I want to become, and how do I want to live my life. Who else would like to chime in here a little bit about luck and what you think about luck, or something that you were actually told in your heritage that you're now unwinding and putting in a new and stronger practice?
Hey, Amelia, it's Renee.
Hey, Miss Renee.
Hey, girlfriend. So I freaking love this conversation because I, like you, grew up Italian and we have our own set of things. I'm sure you can relate, but I grew up with the belief of other people wishing bad on you, which I'm sure that people do.
The Italian hex? You mean the Italian hex?
That's it. You got to wear your Italian horn around your neck because people will overlook you and they'll put a curse on you and wish bad.
The Malefici.
Yeah, exactly. And that really screwed me up growing up with that belief. Also going to Catholic school, which I love the religion that I grew up in, but it caused a lot of fear that I know was unnecessary. And I myself have been trying to unwind these like crazy beliefs, so to speak. But when we talk about luck, I love this topic because I want to touch upon the opposite of what you're saying, Amelia, which is that when we go outside of ourselves to think that's what will bring good into our lives, that's where we falter. But what about, and I was speaking with Tara about this last night, what about when you think so much about this idea of manifestation, where you put so much pressure on yourself when you have a negative thought or when you feel fear, and then you turn around and say, oh my goodness, now I'm calling it into my life. So it's almost like the opposite of that, almost digging too deep into the self and using it as a battle against yourself.
That's a beautiful thing, especially since there's a lot of people talking about, if like The Secret, right? Think it and then it becomes true. So if you realize that every thought is just an information piece, right? So when you think something and then you're like, oh, wow, that was a horrible thought, and that's not going to take me where I want, right? That self-discovery. If you dig into understanding why do you think that, and where did that come from, right? Where you unwinding the belief that's attached to that, right? It's that attachment theory is, if you've discovered that thought is rooted in fear, right? To just sit in it just a little moment to say, well, fear of what? Like, really, fear of what is the worst thing that could possibly happen? Right. And so I love the exercise. And again, I know that, Renee, you come from the actor world, right? And there is a practice, and I'm going to get it wrong, so just help me here, that when you're doing improv, right, that when you toss back and forth, there's an exercise that is the and, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and, yeah.
All right.
You keep the conversation going by saying yes and you build on that story.
So I don't know who invented that. That is the most amazing game ever. Flash your mic if you know what I'm talking about, the yes and. Okay, only a couple people. So there is and again, I am not an actress, right? But when you study this, right, which is, it actually comes from behavior, right? So a lot of acting is to be able to identify with what you are feeling and then call upon it at a different point in time. So there's a practice that when two actors are working together, doesn't matter what is said or what is done, they then do yes and. And when you're in a thought process, right, that says something like, oh, wow, well, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. Right. I take that same type of practice and then I go, okay. And so and then you're alone, right? Being alone. Does that mean then you're not going to be able to, you go to your vision board, travel around? No, you will not. You'll still be able to travel around. Does that mean that you're not? No, that's not. I'll still be able to make as much money as I want. Does that mean you're not going to have your money? To unwind the process of what you think you fear to understand, is that fear at all real? Like, it's based on what? It's usually based on nothing. And as you unwind what you think your greatest fear is and go into this, yes, and so what? And so what? And so what? And so what? I mean, I have to do this with my kids all the time. And they come back and go, oh my God, I failed my math test. I'm like, okay. And well, the teacher's going to be upset with me. Okay. And well, it's going to bring down my grade. And, I like to really help them understand, okay, when you're my age, the fact that you failed your freshman math test, do you even think it's anywhere on my radar? No. And does it matter? Not really. Not really. I just had a client who is trying to break their toddler of the sippy cup, right? And I said, listen, here's what you know for a fact. He is not going to go to high school with his sippy cup. Between now and high school, he is going to learn to put down the sippy cup. He's not going to take his blanket. Not all those things are going to work themselves out. So when we put such emphasis on something that it means something far greater than it really does, play with the exercise of the and to really go down deep, to realize that what you think is this greatest fear in the scheme of things actually is not nearly as important as we want to make it to be at that moment, which is really what's happening, is a stress reliever, right? Even though we're creating our stress, we are trying to tell us a story, and the storytelling practice is to relieve anxiety, even though we're telling ourselves a negative story, and that's why we're creating anxiety. Renee, does that make any sense when I say that we're creating the opposite of what we really want? It's really just an opportunity to tell ourselves whatever story we want. It could be a positive story, not a negative story.
Absolutely. And I love that, Amelia. Thank you for that reminder of that exercise. Where I get caught up, and I believe many others do as well, is oftentimes it's not even about the negative thought. Like a negative thought come in like, oh, you're going to die today. All right, well, I might die. Then that's my time, right? And then I kind of just treat it like it's just any old thought. But where I've gotten tripped up in my own life is that from The Secret and all these beautiful tools that we have about manifestation, what a lot of those teachings tells is that just having the thought, right, will create. So let me just give you an example. Say I walk down the stairs and I stub my toe. And then what happens is I'll go, oh my gosh, Renee, what did you do? What did you think that just caused that? And it feels like then I'm fearing just fear itself, if that makes sense. It's not even the thought. It's like, just don't feel fear.
Right. So let me give you let me walk you through this, because I think people experientially learn best, right? You walk down the step and you stub your toe, right? Universally, that is a message to go slow.
Yeah.
It should really just to say, it has nothing to do with the toe, to slow down or to become aware of what happens to be around you. Same thing, the thought of I might die today really is a message from the universe to reach out to people and say, I just want to tell you that I love you. Marcus Black says it all the time. He says, I love you because, right? No, Alexander says, I love you because. Marcus says, because you can, right? And so we have an opportunity when we feel like, okay, I'm thinking about death and dying, is really our brain saying, am I really telling the people around me that I love them? Is it an opportunity to tell somebody that you are important into my life? Like I just saw, I don't know if people know who Gabby Bernstein is.
My
right.
favorite.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so Gabby and I go way, I can't even tell you. So I'm going to just make myself old. 15 years ago, maybe more. And there was a little circle of us women that were all trying to do really good things at a certain point in time. That was the beginning of my, that's when I got my offer to go from CNBC to Fox News. I'm really dating myself now. Anyway, we all knew each other. And yesterday I had the opportunity to tell her that the work that she has done was a big awareness for me to be able to bring that type of work into my businesses. I practiced that work as an individual when I knew Gabby, and we've had some brilliant conversations, but it's in my relationship with her that I had the leadership and the chutzpah to bring it into my practice, to bring it into my company, to bring it into my leadership, right? Now, that may not sound like a big deal to you, but I will tell you right now, when you're running a company that's, you know, being audited and getting an evaluation, and all those things are being documented, and you know, meditation and holosync and all of these practices that are in my companies, at that point in time, what was being said was, oh, that's because you're a female CEO. Not about, it was the betterment of my people. Right? It was too easy for society to say, well, that was because I was being female. And I was like, no, what about if I'm being a great leader? And that I realized that when you help people develop the life of their dreams, their genius living, that when you pour into people, whether that journey is for them to stay with you or go on and do their own companies or something else, that when you pour in, it isn't just about the company, it's about the entire ripple effect. And that people need to have healthy, amazing, purposeful living lives, and that the company has a responsibility to help them develop to be the best that they can. And so that was important for me to tell Gabby that her work not only impacted me, it impacted every single person who's come into my life, because it gave me the courage, right? The bravery to say, this isn't just my personal life, this is all of my life. And so no matter what I do, all of my life is going to be about being your highest and best self, your genius living, whether it's in my business, in my investment, in something that I'm doing, that is what I am. And so if something isn't of that type of healthiness, right, then I am not involved. And so it was an opportunity for me to be able to say thank you. And I think that when you get these things where you're like, oh my God, I'm fearing death, or thinking something bad happening, maybe to, you know, we get those thoughts, right? You know, my dog is going to die, my kids are going to die, whatever. Those thoughts happen. It is an awareness for you to practice gratitude. It is an awareness for you to reach out to people to let them know that they matter, right? That they had an impact in your life. And so that's how I interpret that thoughts, Renee, is that it is an awareness for me that I need to communicate a message that somebody needs to hear, and that I need to give that credit, right? All humans need to be seen, heard, recognized, valued, and rewarded into their own, value language, so that they can understand that who and what they are matters. And that becomes a huge chain. And we don't do enough of that. We don't do enough of giving flowers to people who have impacted our life, because I don't care how big, how popular, how wealthy, how much you've put that person on a pedestal. I can assure you that every human needs to know that what they have done, or something that they've said, or how they have shown up matters. They need to know that their work matters. And that's what that thought means. That thought is a invitation for you to communicate to somebody that they matter.
Amen, Amelia. And I love, and it's so funny. Again, I saw you with Gabby, and I was like, oh my dear God. I've been, a huge fan of hers for years, and same thing. I mean, I have all of her books, and I follow her principles, and it's just that reminder constantly for me about these thoughts when they come in. And what I'm getting from you as well, Amelia, which is so beautiful, is that at the end of the day, it's also what I attach to it, right? If a thought comes in and I just say, as you said, you know what, I'm going to go call up my best friend, tell her how much I love her. If I use it as action to propel me in a positive way, then you know what? It's a freaking amazing thought, because now it just turned my behavior to something positive, and now I'm in control. So thank you for that. That was really awesome.
And that is our power of choice. Every thought can be used for good. There is nothing, there's no such thing as good or bad or negative and positive unless we give it that meaning. So you can tell me any thought that you have, and I will walk you through what the strain and recovery, what the recovery part of that thought is, where the impact of that thought is, right? It's just learning how to translate the awareness things, right? Our thoughts and actions, stubbing the toe, just learning how to convert that into energy that we can use for our own trajectory of where we want to go.
Yes, Amelia.
Right.
Happy Friday, everybody.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Who else has some thoughts? Come on, we want thoughts. We're going to do a little thought machine here. Yes. Hey, Mary Lynn.
I walked around. Hey, good morning. I walked around, red hair, blue eyes, pale skin, and everyone thought I was Irish. And I always thought how wonderful it would be to be Irish because they have been granted this right to feel lucky. And I was like mystified. And I'm actually Russian and Scandinavian. So I did the ancestry DNA and I found out I was 7% Irish. And I'm like, woohoo, I've got some luck now. Well, of course, as I grew up, as I demystified the legend of luck, I realized, that's not true. But like I said in the beginning, I thought it was almost like you are protected. It was, you're highly favored. It was almost like a given right that they had luck. So this conversation around luck has been so interesting because it's definitely not what I was thinking. So thanks for letting me share.
I love it. And again, if that, when people run their ancestries or whatever, right, to the curiosity to find out what they are, you can give whatever meaning you want to anything. I mean, that's the power of the mind, right? And so if you want to believe that you having a little bit of the Irish in you is somehow going to put you in favor, right? As long as you understand that that's an outside thought, right? That you are giving permission outside of yourself. If that works for you, wonderful. I choose to keep my energy in the machine of where it is that I'm going, right? So I don't believe that there is anything good or bad in or out of favor, right? I believe that every step and every experience is an opportunity for me to use it into what I call genius living, and for me to be able to use that energy that is created in order to serve in my lane. My lane is to heal unattended pain. That is my lane. And so if I can use everything that I know in order to touch one person to relieve pain that they're in, then I am living my best life.
If I could just jump in with that.
Yeah, Tony, go ahead. I can hear you.
All right. So what I was going to say, we could all have a little Irish in us. I mean, just have a shot of Jameson or Guinness or something. I don't know if I did there, but all kidding aside, when it comes to luck, luck is nothing but when preparation meets opportunity, right? When preparation meets opportunity, you're lucky. Well, if you get the opportunity but you're not prepared for it, then you're not going to be able to seize it.
You're echoing, Tony. We've got a huge echo.
Oh, that's crazy. I'm not sure what's happening on my side. All right. Well, anyway, you got the gist of it.
I got you. Who else was chiming in? Right behind Tony.
This is Sean.
Okay, let's hear. Let's share some thoughts here.
Okay, so success and failure and good and bad and luck are labels that we are putting aside to people in our actions, but we stop thinking of them in terms of one or the other and just focus on results. That's when you learn to reflect and grow.
Yeah, well, and yes, I want to be careful with the word results, right? Because it implies the tactical side, right? Which I love that part of it, but there's always the mental side that must come before the tactical side. I like to keep into full awareness that people do not reach success because of a missing tactic, right? You can learn to do anything by a quick YouTube search, right? So if that was the case, that we were just lacking a tactic, we would all be exactly where we want to be. The reason why we are not where we need to be is on the opposite side of the work, which is the getting in our own way, the softer skills of thinking, therefore I am, right? All of that side is what stops us from putting in the tactics to move where I want to go. We literally are in our own way, meaning that we are in our own mind and take us off course. I was doing this last night. I was with Cornelia and Gabby and a bunch of this, and I was doing these decoding sessions. I was literally sitting with people and listening to what they think. And then I was like, let me give you the reflection of what you just said. And those sessions are so important for people because they actually get to listen what they are saying to themselves, and then perfectly clearly with clarity see why it is that they're stuck wherever they are. So I love these sessions. Who else wanted to chime in on something that they were thinking?
Jackie here, Amelia.
Sean, go ahead. I heard you first, and then I can't. The little quiet voice. Who was that? Jackie. Okay, so Sean and then Jackie.
Good morning. Listen, I love everything that you shared this morning. Is so dynamic and impactful. One of the things that just totally reached out in my head for the statement that you said, that if we help people develop the life of their dreams, like when you think about that, so many people have visions and dreams, and they start out with it. Oh, I'm going to do this. It starts as a kid. And many of the girls that I end up dealing with most on the platform know that I rescue girls from human trafficking. And getting into their mind after we've gotten them back into a stable environment and a healthy home, and getting them to say, what is their dream? What is their vision? And helping them to develop that, and bringing them out of what it is that they've gotten themselves involved in. But having them to dream and to develop it, like you said, so many amazing things today that I'm going to be sharing with them later on today as we have our mentoring sessions. And so I just wanted to thank you for that, because a lot of times they get into things, and many of us have, it is only by God's grace that we are not them. Let's just be honest. Because we've all tried and gotten out here and done things. But to have them understand that we can help them, and for us to dig into and to pour into someone and to mentor them, I encourage people all the time, just take one person. Just grab one person under your little wing, and once a month, just pour into them and give into them and mentor them and help them to develop the life of their dreams. And when you look and see that you've actually done it, like literally last month, I had a girl that I just realized she crossed the $2.2 million mark based on a blueprint I gave her. And it just was so awesome, because when I met her, she was dealing with getting ready to be homeless with her family, with her 3 kids. And I just poured into her and mentored her and said, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it. And then she called me and said, hey, I need a P&L. And I'm like, you need a P&L? And she said yes. And when she shared her screen with me, I was like, whoa. Now that made me feel awesome that I impacted her life, and now it's going to help her children. So it's things I just want people to think on this stage. People somewhere, they need you. Even if it's not you building a business, even if you're not an entrepreneur, somebody out there needs you. And you have just set me on fire this morning, girl. So I thank you. This is Sean Smash Jet, and I'm landing my jet.
Well, Sean, well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for commenting today. And so I just want to leave you with one little thought. I am the adult of a mother who, obviously, my mother had a lot of issues. She was a drug addict and alcoholic and all those stuff. But my mother traded me for sex when I was very young. And I mean young, I'm talking about under the age of 10. So I was traded for things that she needed and wanted. And I spent a lot of time trying to not feel dirty, not to feel cheap, not to feel used, not to feel that somehow I was less than for choices that I really didn't have any control over, or did not believe I had any control. Now, the greatest gift that had happened to me in this journey, and this is why I want to say this to you, is when you translate for somebody how something that can be perceived as negative is actually the greatest positive in their life, that every experience is setting you up for the greater good. My resilience and my tenacity, you cannot beat me at. There is not a human who can out bounce me, right? My ability to dig in and to push through the impossible is why my career has always been that. If you look at, if you're in an entrepreneur program in a bunch of the different colleges, you will see my case study for me to bring green mainstream when it wasn't supposed to be. All the things that I've done in my career are making possible what people say are impossible. So it begs the question, why? Well, because it's impossible for me to be as healthy and as stable that I am today, given where my history came from. And I could give you on and on and on. You would need 3 hankies. But everything that happened in my childhood was preparing me to be the CEO and the leader that I am today, to be the inventor and the recreator of how we take antiquated and make them new. Right. And so everything is a training ground for your future self. And when people are coming out of huge childhood abuse, because as children, we don't really have the control and the situations where we end up, when you realize that your soul already knew the journey that it was going to be on, and it is collecting the tools and the experience to develop us into the humans for us to become our future. And when young people realize that they are empowered by that experience and that it allows you to set, I would not be the type of entrepreneur I am if I didn't have the resilience keys from my childhood, right? And so I really hope that when you go back and you talk to them, when they look at my career, I want them to see themselves. I am the grown-up version of the girls that you are helping.
Oh my God, thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Okay, who was next?
Amazing. Jackie here, Amelia.
Hey, Jackie.
Hey. Well, I am Irish, and growing up, there was always this: when you had good luck, it was great, but when you had bad luck, it came in threes. And then, as I grew older and was working my way up the management scale, if you like, when I would progress. And this would have been, in large multinationals, it was, oh, Jackie got it. That's the look of the Irish. But no, it wasn't. Jackie got it because Jackie had personality and Jackie worked hard. And that was something that I learned the more that I met people outside of Ireland that perceived that you got things because you were lucky. No, you work hard for your luck. You really, really do. So it's not just something. And, I had a room yesterday for St. Patrick's Day, and there was a lovely guy in it who, for the look of the Irish, decided to get a tattoo. And he got the 4-leaf clover. And he was, in his way, honouring St. Patrick and Ireland. And the poor guy, I haven't the heart to tell him that it's actually the 3-leaf shamrock, not the 4-leaf clover. So it's amazing how some people perceive different things to be what they are, but they aren't. But they have a belief in it, and if it brings them joy, good for them. This is Jackie in the Red, handing back the baton.
I love Jack. First of all, I could listen to your voice all day long. So thank you for adding that, because my whole spirit feels happy now just listening to your voice. So thank you. And yes, so you have to, again, unwinding these stories. The 3 is the trilogy, right? That's what the 3 is representing energetically across cultures, right? That things come in 3, right? That is where the 3 is coming from, is from scripture. And 3 is one of those most familiar numbers, right? Because we've been programmed for generations and generations, right? And so you find 3 not only in the New Testament, you also find it in the Old Testament. So 3 is familiar, right? So that's why your brain is going there. And so 3, again, the 3-leaf clover was representative of, right, the Protestant and the Catholic, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so that's where the 3 is coming from. Now, if you hop over for a nanosecond over to numerology, right, 3 is representative of the throat and the speak, right, to be able to speak. And so that is where the 3 energy is coming, is the greatest communicators, right, to be able to translate the message in which you intend. And so, again, when you go back to storytelling and, what is really, really happening, the three was to be heard, right? And so again, when you're in situations where things are not feeling good, the instinct is to be heard, right? And so a lot of the stuff, when you go back and you look at different types of religions, and again, to pick whatever religion you want, when somebody is in pain, the instinct to pray is of three energy, to be heard. I'm praying. I need you to hear me. That's what it is. And so again, I don't want to put meaning on anything one way or another. I just want to unwind for you. Where does the three come from? Where does the seven, the lucky seven, where does it come from? It's storytelling from our history. And as long as the story feels good to you and that's part of your belief system, then you can give it meaning. But please do not allow somebody else to give it meaning if you do not choose it, is my whole purpose here.
Hi, Amelia. That was awesome. This is Demi. How are you?
Can I follow Demi?
Sure. Yes. And then we're going to make sure I give it over to Mr. David Meltzer. So we only have a couple of minutes. So let's move quickly so that we hit our time clock.
Okay, I'll be quick. Thank you so much. When you mentioned about the numerology, it just got me thinking about the lucky and unlucky number 13. And up until I met Anthony Brado, he's an author of a book called Nile Valley Contribution to Civilization, and he's an Egyptologist, and had interviewed him for a film about Malcolm X, and he had spoke about actually how the number 13 was actually very, very lucky, and under Egyptian mystery, under the Egyptian mystery system, the 13 represents transformation, resurrection, and rebirth and new life. And then the Freemasonry, they use the 13 to, create sort of liberty and the pursuit of happiness in the American, system. And so I realized that I'd been using this lack of luck by understanding that, numbers like the 13 were unlucky instead of lucky. And then that started to, in my mind, I started to think about this whole idea of not necessarily being unlucky, but having the lack of luck, which I was taught, as a young person, that, you're Black, you're a woman, so you have to work twice as hard, and, because luck doesn't serve you. So you actually have to have excellence and, and be and work above the rest in order to have any type of success. And I realized how limiting that is as well. And so it's just been a real revelation just to hear this fascinating conversation. Thank you.
I love that. And the other thing too, so Italians consider the number 13 lucky, right? So if you've ever been through Italy, you're going to see 13 all over the place. We consider that a lucky number. Well, what is 13? 13 really is 4. What is 4? It's the definition of hard work. And so as a society, right, as we go back to the Roman Empire, right, we believe that through our work, we will scale, right? Italians pride themselves on the hard work. Well, it's funny how we identify ourselves with the number 13 that actually is the poster child for the word work. So it's just interesting to always unwind where something came from and then just making the choice of does it or does it not serve you. So I actually love all of that. I'm going to be absolutely respectful because Mr. David Meltzer is one of my mentors and one of my absolute heroes in life. He's had such an impact in my ability to think and be and lead and all that stuff. So Mr. Meltzer, welcome. Happy Friday. Hopefully you had a beautiful St. Patty's Day. And I'm sending you luck, even though you don't need luck, because I absolutely just love you.
Thank you, Amelia. It is Jake here. Thank you. David's sending you luck back. Happy St. Patty's Day. David's currently landing off a plane right now, so I'll be quickly kicking it off here. Happy Friday, everybody. We're here. Jake champions. Hey, Glenn, how you doing? I'm good. How are you, sir? I am doing well. Is there anything you want to chime in on before we get going here? Yeah, can we just take a minute, just real fast, and make a whole lot of a noise for Mrs. Amelia Antonetti and what she just shared in that last hour? Can you make some noise for her?
Amelia killed it. You go, Amelia.
Love you, Amelia. Hey, Glenn, if I could add one last comment, I'll just say this, and I just posted it on our stream, is the harder I work, the luckier I get. Amen, brother. Amen. Amelia, you are a powerful force in this space, and incredibly grateful for you and the fact that you take time to spend in this space. There are a trillion places you could be. You choose to be here with us, pouring into these amazing superhumans that share this space with us. So we are incredibly grateful for you, Miss Amelia Antonetti, and the journey that you've been on the last year has been really inspiring to watch. So thank you for who you are. I love you deeply. As my friend, you're just an incredible person. So thank you, Miss Amelia. So I wanted to take time to do that. Go ahead, young lady.
I'm blushing, and it means the world to me. Trying to serve others, especially here in this room that you've created, Glenn, just being able to contribute and know that it matters. I can't ask for more than that. So I appreciate the space, and your friendship and the support, and just the, beautiful people that are here that allow us to grow together. And so that is a huge blessing. So thank you, my friend.
Yes, indeed. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Jake, I'm going to go and reset the room while we're waiting on Dave. And I know you've got some things to contribute. And if you guys don't know, this guy, Jake, I mean, this is the future of humanity right here. Jake is the dude. Jake is the dude. And I've had the opportunity to meet him in person, spend multiple times. We've been able to spend time together in person. And he's just a young dude that gets it, man. You just get it, Jake. And so I love you. All right,
you're definitely the dude, by the way. I've never met someone like you who can light up a room the way you do. So shout out to Glenn. I know you do so much for the community. So shout out to you.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Breakfast with Champions, the Millionaire Breakfast Club. Your opportunity to get a seat at the table to hang out with some of those that are doing this.
Typically, I do feel lucky today because of what had happened. So, in any event, even though I just realized that while we weren't on Clubhouse, I just shared that on all of the other platforms. Anyway, but I do feel lucky because I've got a guardian angel watching over me and my son and my family. So I do feel lucky today. But I what we were talking about before in the room, and obviously what the topic is it luck or is it? Obviously not talking about accidents and that sort of thing, but luck is not something that just happens. There is no luck, right? Luck, I'm not going to discount luck because I think that there's an element of that in our lives, yet luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And we do make our own luck by the choices we make, the decisions we take, and from the experiences that we've learned along the way. So with that said, the wonderful Amelia Antonetti is back in this room. So good morning, Amelia. And I apologize for that. It's one lever on the device on the Rodecaster that made all the difference because I had volume coming in from two devices, which is why I was giving you feedback. So my apologies. It has been correct.
Awesome. I don't even understand it. I don't have a mod badge and I can't bring up Alicia Check.
I listen, taking care of that. Oh wait, I'm not moderated either.
Randy's got to mod us.
You gotta mod us. You gotta feed us. We're all hungry. We want, especially this morning, we want that green bean because it's like the lucky clover, the 3-leaf clover. And I love that before Jackie was talking about it, it's not actually the 4-leaf clover, it's a 3-leaf clover. The 4-leaf clover, of course, is Lucky Charms. That's why I think where the 4-leaf clover was made was came into fashion.
Randy, do you know how to mod us?
I do not. I got the superpower, Amelia. I don't know what to do. So check it out. Just click on my profile and you'll see me moderator, and just click on that. I had all that power and I left it while I had it. So thank you for that.
Oh, we all share power. So okay. So now I'm trying to figure out how to ping people into this room because I know.
And I'll just jump in and say, for those of you that are listening on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, thank you for bearing with us. We are speaking about Clubhouse. We're in a room right now. We're just getting everybody loaded into the room. We will be restarting this conversation about luck. Is it luck or is it, right? In relationships, in
in business partnerships, in the way that you work with your team, are you lucky, or is it something that you've done in the past to set yourself up for success? Because the reality of it is, we do make our own luck. And as I said in the prior room, and of course, if you're listening on social media, you heard me say it, that was the last comment I made, was that, the harder I work, the luckier I get, because there is no overnight success, right? I mean, of course, Amelia, you're an overnight success.
Yeah, 35 years of overnight.
Exactly.
35 years of sleepless nights, right? To kind of get, but I think, Camelia is, she's on the flight back to Canada. She was here last night. We had a lot of fun. And I think that this is definitely, I hear constantly about, being lucky in money and investments and being lucky and in love. And it is something that is a story that we tell ourselves. And I cannot tell you how many times somebody gets involved in a relationship and they think that the relationship is just going to be lucky, that it's automatically going to, I love when people say complete me, which is a dangerous thing. And that it's all going to work out. And they don't realize that the best power couples, those best relationships, consistently work at it each and every day. It has nothing to do with luck. It has to do with work. David, can you call Anthony? He's blowing up my phone. He keeps forgetting.
100%. It's the work you put in. The other line I love is, you can't be upset for the results you didn't get for the work you didn't do, right?
I think that's one of my favorite lines, right? Is that how often people are angry and literally angry that they don't have the things that other people have. And they go to, well, for some reason that other person is more fortunate than they are. And they do not take responsibility that you have not done the work. And I think that is a practice, right? And being able to be the person to say, the person that I'm trying to move the needle with, they don't want to do the work. We were speaking last night about people's response and reaction to therapy or behavior modifications or those type of things, that some people very vehemently do not want anything to do with that self-discovery. And that is, and I understand it, the reason for that is because it is uncomfortable. Gabby was talking last night about this inward journey is probably the most uncomfortable you're ever going to get. And it's not a picnic. And the minute it starts to feel uncomfortable, the minute it starts to feel hard, the minute that you get into that stickiness and that self-awareness, it is very easy to go in the opposite direction. It's so much easier to go, you know what? I will just live on autopilot and this is all good. But for those who really want the depth and the connection and all that type of stuff, it is an inward journey, and you have to be with a partner who's willing to do the journey as well. And I don't think that has anything to do with luck. I think it has to do with making the room and the space so that I can fall down and get up and you can fall down and get up. And I think that is really what we're talking about here as we talk about relationships. Do you have the business partners? Do you have the relationship with the other individuals on your team to get where you want to go? Because that is about learning and growing together. And that stuff sucks.
Hi, Amelia. This is Corey.
Hello, Miss Corey.
Good morning. I totally agree with what you and Tony are saying about that it takes a lot of hard work for sure. But I do feel like the further I get into this, really defining what that hard work looks like is really important, because we can work really, really hard in the wrong direction also. And as we've all talked about before, the different choices that we make based on the education that we're able to develop over time and through our different seasons and the life experiences that go with that working smarter instead of harder.
Oh, without a doubt, that's where the growth comes from, and learning from experiences, not just our own, but the experiences of others around us. Because, Tony Robbins says this all the time, you can't run, it doesn't matter how fast you run east. If you're looking for a sunset, if you're running east, you're never going to find it, right? So it's about having not only the tools, learning the tools, having experiences, surround yourself with the right people that are going to guide you and advise you and share experiences and knowledge that are going to help you dig in the right direction. Because what good is a treasure map if you don't know where you are? That's why it's so important to be honest with yourself and where it is. But if you don't know where you are in relation to that X, you're never going to find it. So you're absolutely right, Corey. It's doing the right work and digging in the right direction, so to speak, or digging into the right thing. Because again, you can pour yourself into, you know, the wrong person trying to make that relationship work. But if it's the wrong person, it doesn't matter how hard you work. You're never going to find that goal that you so seek. So yeah, that's what I just wanted to jump in with that.
Can I jump in here, Tony and Amelia? This is Mike.
Hey, Big Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, hey, I agree with what Corey was saying, Amelia and you guys. It's not about working hard. It's about working smart. I've been in business for 36 years, and I just find that it's about working smart and not about hard and stuff, that I've had my luck and fortune to be where I'm at today. Listen, Mike, I'm done speaking.
Well, I think that's, you know, we have right now with the G100, you know, a lot of the brothers and sisters are going through the assessment to assess and evaluate and do an audit of their time, right? Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And so taking that audit of where what are you spending time on? What are you thinking? What is actually happening? Where are you responding versus reacting? That true audit it's a difficult one. I mean, it's a really hard one. Every time I go through and I audit my weeks, there's that feeling of like, oh, I mean, you know, spending time on things that have nothing to do with what my desires are. It has nothing to do with how I define genius living, you know, and I let my heart lead a lot of times. I get involved in stuff because I really want to help. And the next thing you know, hours have gone by and I've made zero progress, right? And so really taking the audit to say, am I investing the very best parts of me, time, money, effort, focus, freedom, resources, money, into the things that I have spent the time to define is really matter, right? So the sisterhood have spent an enormous amount of time absolutely pinpointing the 5 areas of focus, right? They are very clear on those 5 areas. And then when you do an audit, you go, wow, I'm actually not spending my time in the things that I have just said that are important to me. And then we wonder why those things are not making progress. Well, if you're not pouring in to the things that matter to you most, that means you're giving the leftovers of you to the things that matter the most. And when you say it out loud, it absolutely hits you like a hammer to a nail.
And so, Amelia, I do want to say that when we are working smarter, those types of tools are incredibly valuable. And I think that that's where a lot of people get stuck is that, I mean, just in my example, I got married really young and it was to somebody exactly like my dad, which is who I should have never married. And so I learned from that mistake and decided that the second time I was going to get married, it was going to be a totally opposite person, which still wasn't the right choice. So not only having those tools, but being able to understand how to evaluate them in a way that allows you to progress forward positively instead of just doing something different.
Right. And so when a person comes in your life, it doesn't matter if it's male or female, right? So you're living your life and on your journey. When you meet somebody that is the match of your parents, male or female, it is an opportunity for you to resolve unfinished work. That is why those people come into your life, so that whatever it is that was not healed, fixed, corrected, whatever, between father and self, you then attract father again to do the work. And if the work isn't done there, you attract the father again, and then again, and again, and again, and again. That's the pattern. And so people come in. That's what the you know, that poem that says some people come into your life for a season, some people come in for a lesson, some people come in for a lifetime, right? When you meet new people or you have a new experience, right? You're like, wow, I've never done this before. It is for you to come into awareness to go, okay, this is here because of what in my past am I now presented with the opportunity to finish the work that wasn't finished in a previous part, right? And when you do these audits, right? Audits, right now we're doing an audit of time, right? But you can do all kinds of different audits. You can do, Tara talks about this all the time, right? Doing a body scan, right? To scan your body to figure out where you are feeling something, right? An energetic, or where is it living? Those are audits for you to be able to examine what work is still unfinished, right? Because that unfinished work is going to cause the noise that makes the next step more difficult to hear, right? Or more difficult to take. And so that's what those things are. And there are people who spend their entire life repeating the same relationship over and over and over again without realizing that the origin of that relationship is in their childhood.
That is perfect. Thank you so much. I definitely had not ever looked at it that way, as it needing to be something that you still needed to work on. But thank you.
Yeah, and that's the great thing is, right? The great thing is that, sorry, Tony, not to. The great thing is that person doesn't still have to be alive, right? When you talk about regression therapy and stuff like that, the person that originated whatever is there, right? Let's just call it a hiccup, right? Whatever the experience is, whatever the person is that created that hiccup in your life, they do not have to be present in your life or alive in order to go back and resolve it, right? But you have to resolve. You can't just leave it open-ended. You can't be walking around like Swiss cheese and then wonder why you feel like there's a hole in your life. Well, there is holes in your life, right? There is actually holes in your life that you've got to go back to then make peace with or fill in or whatever. Oh, look at Miss Brielle. I love Miss Brielle. Hello, Miss Brielle. I haven't seen you in forever. Can I just love you for just a second?
I was excited to see a Genius Key room. So excited. Happy to listen.
Thank you. Well, we're talking about luck. We're talking about relying on luck.
We're lucky to have Brielle in here. If I could just cut in for a second and just invite everyone. We've had 10 shares of this room. We invite everyone, certainly that's on stage, to go ahead and click that little box with the arrow on it. Make sure that you're sharing this to Clubhouse. Say something nice about it, like, hey, we're talking about luck this morning. Are you lucky? Great room, whatever it is. Share that out to Clubhouse. Of course, we invite you to share it also on Facebook, on Twitter, via text. You can also invite here on the app. You can hit the.
Hey, Tony, our ping button went away. There's no more pinging.
And of course, if you're listening on social media, on Facebook, share this to your page, because this is a great conversation to be had this morning. So I just want to invite everyone. Bring people into this conversation, because it's by inviting people into the right rooms to have the right conversation with the right people that we can actually change perspectives, change lives, and that's how we can change the world, one person, one life at a time. So we invite you to share this room. Thank you, everyone.
What happened to our plus button where we got to just like ping people in the room? We no more pluses?
It's still there. If you hit on that little box with the arrow,
yeah,
on top, it allows you to share to Clubhouse. The next one says
via
social media.
I gotcha.
The next one, you can copy the link, just email it or message it out. And then on the bottom, it says invite people, that little profile with the plus sign. That does the same thing you did before. And remember, if you are doing that, adding people that way, make sure that you're just clicking on the people that have that little green dot. That means they're active on the app right now. So there's my tip. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And again, we encourage you. Yes, thank you. 9 more people have already shared this room. 10 more people. I love it. You know what? Let's see what people are saying about the room. Brielle, Genius Key's amazing life hack. Feeling lucky I found this. Thank you, Brielle. Dr. Sean, Amelia, bringing it as usual. Corey, Amelia Antonetti is in Tony's room. Yes, sharing lucky conversations. Randy, it's your lucky day. Marcus, feeling lucky. Pull on up in there. Marilyn, share the room. Big Mike, share the room. LaFern, share the room. Let's discuss lucky. Amazing people, says Norman. Get in here. Amazing Alicia. So yes, let's get in here and share this room, because again, the luckier, the more people we get in here, the luckier we all are, because we get to have this experience, and not just have this experience, but share this experience with others, which is where the magic lies, my friends. So
well, and Tony, so what I'm listening to in the DMs, right? So we just were talking, we were decoding people's thoughts between 9 and 10, right? So people were thinking, oh, well, you know, I'm just not lucky with investments. I'm not lucky with money. I'm not lucky with those opportunities. I don't, you know, I'm not lucky in love. I'm not like all of those thoughts. And so we were decoding what actually is going on, right? So when Renee was talking about, well, you know, if I'm walking down the street and I stub my toe, it's, you know, okay, now I'm going to have a bad day. Versus saying, okay, well, maybe you stubbed your toe because it's in an awareness for you to slow down, right? Or to pay attention on that actual location, right? That there's another meaning that can create a more positive, energetic momentum towards what you have defined as your highest and best self or the things that you're looking for. I hear this all the time with money. All the time with money. People will say, well, I'm just not lucky in money. I'm not lucky in investments, right? That their relationship with money, they have some outward ingredient, which is that there has to be luck, right? Even we call it the lucky sperm club, right? People who inherit money without realizing that those people who usually inherit money are also the ones who burn through the money. Because if you do not have a healthy relationship with money, then money is not out there working for you. Everything is the meaning in which you have attached onto something. And that's why I love this whole thing about luck. People do not realize how often we think luck has something to do with the equation, which is really the impetus of we have gone outside ourselves. There's some other factor that must be involved in order for us to get where we need to go. And so I love some of the shares that we actually had in the 9 o'clock hour, because it allowed people to share their thoughts so we could jump in and decode it right there on the spot. That's what I'm reading in the back chat right now is, you know, people were like, oh, I didn't realize that happened to you when you were little. And I love the way you've been able to manifest it for a greater good, right? So all things happen to people, right? All people get experiences. It's then what do you do with it that then changes the trajectory of whether you move closer or farther away from your goals. That was me. I was just reading what I was reading in the background. Anybody else like to try and chime in about this myth about luck, or how you've had to change your relationship with the word luck and put something in there that is more in alignment with who and what you want to go?
Hi, Amelia. I'll share from it.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Hi. Yeah, I don't believe in luck at all. And I changed my vernacular from luck to fortunate. You know, I'm fortunate enough to play in a popular, well-known tribute band, classic rock tribute band with my wife, who plays violin behind me. She happens to be 20 years younger than me and stunning. She's absolutely beautiful. And I don't say that because she's my wife. She absolutely is. And so many people walk up to me and say, well, aren't you lucky? I'm not lucky at all. This wasn't luck. First of all, I went and made that happen. Second of all, I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate that I have this person that loves me, that I can perform with on stage, and she's fortunate because she gets to go home with the lead singer. So there's no luck at all. It's you can be fortunate, but I believe we create our own fortune, right? We go out and get it. So I'm not a believer in luck. I do not gamble. I don't do anything like that, because there's no such thing as luck. You're only fortunate if you get to where you want to be. I'm done speaking for now. Thanks.
Well, and I love that. And so the greater the gap, the more the skill, right? So what I know from my 35 years as a behaviorist is that when you have a larger gap in age among partners, there are more skill building that is required in order for it to be able to be its highest and best self. So I don't know you and your wife, but I will tell you, you both must have really good communication skills in order to speak for what you want, what you think, and what you desire, because your reference points are coming from 2 different decades, right? So that's skill that you've got going on. And obviously you guys have this huge connection, right, through your ability to identify and create music and entertainment, right? You bring joy to, I mean, music is one of those things that people self-medicate with music. Music can make us feel so many different things. So the fact that you guys create these experiences for others is magical, right? It's a magical moment that you guys get to be able to do. So that's also probably where intimacy between you guys have been rooted in, right? Because you have this crazy ability to take a piece of her and a piece of you and create something even better. And then you watch people right then and there respond to the thing that you guys are creating. And as musicians, you can't create it individually. It is a bigger impact together. So that is beautiful. Like, I think that whole thing is just so lovely and yummy. So that's exciting. That's really exciting. So kudos to you. to be able to really be on that path of what I call genius living.
And by the way, Marcus, I'll just say that this is a line that a good friend of mine, Joseph McClendon, says often. He says, fortune favors the bold, right? Because opportunity does knock on everybody's door. The question is, and to what I said before, is preparation and opportunity. When they meet, that's luck. Yet I share this story, and this is just 1 minute, is, luck knocks on everyone's door, is something that I say. And so imagine you have an apartment building, there's 3 doors. First, here comes luck, knocks on the door. Person turns off their lights, make believe they're not home because they're too afraid to open the door. So then luck goes to the next door and knocks on the door, and the person behind it says, I don't want any, go away. I don't want any. I want to have a conversation. No, I don't want any, go away. Luck knocks on the 3rd door. Third door opens up, and the person welcomes in the opportunity, listens to it, perhaps seizes the opportunity, and goes on to have a successful whatever relationship, business, finance, whatever it is. And then you know what people in door number 1, door number 2 is? That person's so lucky. They're so lucky. Why does luck never happen to me? Well, it does. You just got to learn to recognize it, open the door, and listen to opportunity. So fortune favors the bold. Fortune favors those who are willing to open the door. Fortune favors those who are willing to take the risk of getting hurt, to take the risk of whatever it is, because, the whole thing, no risk, no reward. Well, you've got to be bold. So fortune favors the bold.
Okay, I've got a question for Amelia, if I can ask her. Amelia, this is Mike. I've got a phone call this afternoon. I don't know if it's on topic and stuff. I've got a phone call with the lady this afternoon. She's based up in the Toronto area and stuff, and she's going to discuss some ideas with me. And I was wondering what your thoughts are on this. Should I invest in her right away, or should I go ahead and vet her first and then tell her yes or no?
I mean, I don't think you can ever deploy an asset or a resource or even time, anything like that, into somebody until you first understand what is it, right? What is it that you're actually talking about? And most importantly, what is her expectations? And does any of that align with why you are here? What you have said is your 5 areas of focus, what is your genius and all of that. I mean, investments are alignment, right? And so you have to have alignment. And that's alignment with your own self. That's alignment with what she believes, whatever. That's where things go bad, because if you are not going to meet what her expectations are, this relationship is going to be very difficult. And so you have to understand what that means from what she considers valuable. And you've got to go through them. How much time are you talking about? How much effort are you talking about? How much resources are you talking about? How much money are you talking about? How the money is deployed? What is the return? What is fair and equitable? All of that, because that's those things that need to be talked about is the things that nobody wants to talk about in the beginning and what causes so much heartache at the end. And so I think you just have to have not just one, but several conversations about what is this thing that she's asking you to do, and what meaning is she giving it to, and what meaning are you giving it to for the reason that you're actually doing it, if that's helpful.
It is very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Hey, Amelia, it's Mariana.
Hello.
Hello, darling. I wanted to go back to what Tony was saying about the opportunity and the readiness, equals luck. And for me, one thing that I would say, putting an emphasis to something that I already knew, but sometimes you forget, is about the being, right? And that is something that we are doing with you, is like more being who we are, our higher self. And I believe that when we are being, and an opportunity comes easier, for us to look for it. So when you tell us to really focus on us, that's what I think about. I go, I need to be more than looking for the doing before I am. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And when you look, Mel Robbins just did a series of stuff talking about apologizing for who you are, right? So like when you want to communicate with somebody, you put a bunch of emojis in there, or you ask permission, or you apologize for how you feel, or like all of that stuff, which is that energy of saying, just, please accept me for who I am, versus being able to say, hey, listen, that didn't work for me. And for us to continue on a healthy relationship, we're going to have to address this boundary because it does not work for my side. And here's why. Without me going, hey, I just want to say something. I really don't want you to be upset about it because, I like blah, 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 blah. Same thing with the word no, right? Say, hey, Amelia, do you want to come with us on Friday? And for me to be able to go no, or no, it doesn't work for me, without me going, oh, because I got to pick up the kids. Like then I have to justify all of the reasons why I'm saying no, versus having you respect who I am, that no is an answer, right? No is an answer that doesn't need to be so overly explained, because it's in all of that explaining that I'm not being who I am because I'm trying to make it okay for you. And that's not a healthy relationship. When you're having to make yourself okay for the other person, you are in the red flag zone. That is what that is. And that is the practice, right? That is the practice. And what happens when people are relying on outside of self, they ask a lot of people to change and morph who they are so that they can be more comfortable. Well, that's not how it works. That is not how it works. This is what I am. This is who I am. And this is where I'm going. And if that bothers you, that's on your side. I forget there's an Instagram reel that says something like, I'm not too much, right? Maybe the issue is on your side. I'm not whatever that, I can't remember how it goes back and forth, but that's what it's talking about when people go, oh my God, you're too much. You're too this, you're too that. Am I really? Or are those your issues? Right? Oh, that's what it says. I'm not intimidating. You're intimidated. I'm not too much. You are just like living average. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? That Instagram that flies around all over the place. Yeah,
you said it right. I'm not intimidating. You're intimidated.
Yes, and I love that, right? Because I know for myself anyway, and Brielle, I'm sure you hear this too. Well, people go, oh my God, you're so intimidating. And I gotta go, I'm kind of like the nicest person in the planet. Like I've got such a huge heart. You're interpreting me as being intimidating. Maybe I'm just direct and clear.
So good.
And I think that that's where we move away from this thought of luck, or this thought of something else is going to happen and then life is going to be peachy clean, and saying, okay, what do I want? Why do I want it? Let me define those areas of focus. Let me put in the tools. Let me put into the work. But as you can hear, the work is still, it's hard. It's hard work. And then the boundaries are even harder yet, right? Because when you take an audit to realize energy that you have put elsewhere that would have been better served staying in what matters to you. But because we're big-hearted people, we try to feed other people our energy, hoping that it satisfies their hunger. And the reality is it never will. Hungry people can only learn how to feed themselves. And it's sad. It's sad because we want to help them, but they do not realize that it is a journey within. Tell me some other things. So let's take this opportunity to just, decode those storytelling, those thoughts that happen that we think somebody else is lucky, or somebody else is whatever that is, right? Somebody is something, they have it and I don't have it. Therefore, I am lacking and they are favored. Give me some noodles to play on.
Amelia, this is Carrie.
Hello, Miss Carrie.
Hello. I'll jump in on this and say that for me, it's realizing it's not luck that I think is happening. It's actually a reflection of worth. And that's the deep work within that I have had to walk through to say, you know, what is my worth? And it's like going to a yoga class. I always say the only way to get hurt in a yoga class is by looking at the person next to you, because you cannot judge where your comfort level is based on someone else. You cannot judge your worth based on someone else. And so when we get into that pit of thinking, I can't bother that person, they're too busy, they're too important, that's when it is on our side, and we have to recognize that.
Sorry, I couldn't get my button off. I'm tapping the screen and it's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, there you go. Not working. Doesn't like me. No, it is. And then I don't know. There's a feeling when you identify, maybe just for me, when I identify work that I need to do, and my brain really wants it to be something else and not that. Like, I really want it to be a different answer. I really want it to be a different answer. And when the answer becomes, oh, Amelia, this is all about you. This is all about you. And this is your work. And one way or another, this was me doing this to myself. You have to sit with it for a second, because you're like, shit, I wanted it to be something else. You want the answer to be something else. You don't want to waste your time. But you find out that we do. You don't want to waste your energy, whatever, but you start to learn these tools and you realize you did. You did. You know, you knew, I knew, you knew, we all knew, right? But you play and you hope that it's going to somehow turn out differently. And hope and luck, you know, are brothers and sisters, right? You can hope all day long. That's not going to change it. You can think about luck all day long. It's not going to change it, right? It's literally sitting into it and saying, okay, I now need to lean in to the yucky part and go, okay, this doesn't work for me, right? And here's why. And you know that when you speak up, those people that are in your life who want you to stay the same are going to stomp their feet, because they're saying, please stay dysfunctional. Please be the source of all of my joy and my happiness, right? Don't you be happy, give it all to me, right? And when you start to learn to translate what somebody is saying, right? They're literally, and that's what I love doing for somebody, to say, okay, that person is saying, please love me more than you love yourself. Please give to me all that I need. So, you know, and then you have nothing but leftovers for yourself. When you start to realize that that's what the person is saying, it allows you to be empowered to go, wait a minute, this is not going to work for me. And those are the boundaries, the guidelines, and all that. And the audit that you guys just did is what it's showing you, right? It's showing you where you are putting in resources, and then you're determining whether or not they're returning back to you or not. Who else wants to chime in? We have Hey, Dr. Sean.
Hey, it's Norm.
Hey, Norm. I love seeing all these faces, these people. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, good. Luck. I don't know. I'm trying to listen in on this. My daughter's watching TV, but I think luck is what two people can come together and agree on, maybe. Does that make sense? If you look at a new relationship or past.
Yeah, but I mean, you and I can sit all day long and try to agree about luck. It doesn't mean anything. Right? I mean, if you and I go, okay, well, we're going to be lucky in our relationship. What does that actually mean? How is that going to happen? What is the meaning? What is it that it's really saying, right? So when you start to dig under replacing that word with luck and doing that exercise I was talking about that this morning, right? And what? And getting underneath it, you start to realize there's no substance that's not rooted in anything. Luck is not rooted anywhere. It's hope.
So when people say this, you know, let's take an example in the dating world, and you meet somebody or you're chatting and they go, good luck with your search, or I hope it works if you find that somebody, good luck. And, you know, is it just a phrase that's trying to be nice and saying, instead of saying best of people
No,
here.
the translation to that is I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I don't even know I don't even know what I'm searching for. I haven't done any of my work to identify what I'm looking for and why. So when somebody says good luck to you, it's really them saying I don't have a clue what I'm doing. That's what they're saying.
No, that's a phenomenal answer. Meaning, I guess it's a quick scapegoat, you want to call it, or an exit pattern. Or plan. The best and the quickest way to exit out of a conversation.
Yeah, but it's also a tell, right? You only use the words that you have a relationship with. And so if I say good luck on your search, what you need to understand is I am telling you that I don't know what I'm searching for. So there's no way you're going to be a match with that person because they have not identified what they're looking for. So that's called guessing. And a lot of people get into guessing relationships. I guess. I guess. I don't know. And that's the thing that's difficult in the dating world is so many people have not sat down to say, what is it that are my wants and my needs? And why are they my wants and my needs? And do I offer the things that I want and I need? That exercise, most people are not doing it. And the reason why they're not doing it is when you get to the part that says, are you offering that same thing that you're asking for? The answer is going to be no. No, I don't. I want something that I don't offer. Well, isn't that the example of selfishness?
Yes, that's true. And it's almost like a Q&A period. That checklist, let's say you have, you're never going to match, male and female or whatever the relationship is, tit for tat, like dead on. But you're going to be close. If you think you're going to both be at 100%, that ain't going to happen in life. We all have our quirks. We all have our faults and other things. But to come close, I think can make it work better, if I'm correct there. I mean, you just with Carmela in New York, I don't know if you guys talked about this, that she sees this, she's been doing this in her space for umpteen years. But what you're saying to what her data and expertise is to, I guess, the background of somebody's self-being, there is selfishness in everybody somewhere. We're not all going to want to give in to be that person be you, if I'm correct.
So yeah, so I was with a whole mess of matchmakers last night, and what I was doing for them was understanding.
It was very fun. It was very interesting. Yeah. And by the way, I had the best time getting to know Amelia, and she just shares like really from where, like, her experience, like unapologetic, extremely raw, very real, and was such a joy to be around her and to be around people who all, vibe. So it was really great. But I mean, I'm just popping in. I'm at the airport, Norman, heading back. I know we're talking about, luck, or is it? And when it comes to love, I would say sometimes people are very lucky. They happen to meet, the timing is there. They meet the right person. They finish each other's sentences. They live happily ever after. Unfortunately, as statistics will tell you from divorce rates, and not even those who are unwed and taking that into consideration, I think the breakup rate is very, very high among regular folks, right? And that's because pairing is a real challenge for people. And part of that is because they lack that self-awareness. Every time I speak with a client, and I just was speaking to someone today, phone call from somebody pre-pandemic said, Carmela, I'm ready to hire you. Wasn't ready before because they had different things going on. But just because someone says, I'm ready to hire you, I want to make sure that I'm ready, that they're really ready to hire me, that they're really in the headspace to meet somebody. What changed? What was different from the last time that you were ready, and why are you ready now, right? So I think it's so important as we look to partnerships
I don't believe in luck in anything. I believe you can be lucky, but when you hang around people like Amelia and many of people on this stage, you know, luck is not something we rely on. We rely on hard work, on skill, on personal development, resilience, accountability, all of those things that we can control, because there are so many things in our lives we cannot control, and we cannot control other people. So it's so important that you ask the right questions and that you're super clear about what you want. So Amelia, back to you. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to share that before I get on my plane. So over to you, Amelia.
No, listen, we had so much fun last night really talking about decoding our thoughts, right? And you guys did such a great job. You know, when somebody talks about the physicality part of what they think they're looking for, and as we were translating of what does that really mean behaviorally, right? Because there's that kind of list that people put together, which is all about the physical aspect, but it isn't that holds that relationship together. And a lot of people just don't know what has meaning for them. You know, I mean, there was part of the conversation, you know, it's talking about, you know, from the male perspective, that men think they need to have this big ta-da, right? That women are looking for, you know, showing up with planes, trains, and automobiles, and these I forgot exactly how it was labeled, but like these over the top moments. And as you dug underneath the conversation, and again, there was a big group of us, you realize that that's not the things that keep things together. It's the smaller details of knowing, right? That when you lean in and you know what it is that I like to drink, when you lean in and know that when you open the door for me, it gives me a little happy flutter, right? When you get up to help me on or off with my coat, you are telling me that you care about me. That's me. That's Amelia. That's not all women. That's just Amelia. But if you've taken the time to get to know me, of what matters to me, and then you deliver those small details, that's where the connection and the intimacy begins in the relationship. It has nothing to do with whether you are 6 feet tall or not, whether you're getting my coat on and off, when you're open, like whatever, that's taken care of. I know a lot of people who are 6 feet tall who do not make me feel like they are taking care of me. So it's not a height thing. And so we were having a lot of these really interesting discussions as we were talking about behaviorally, what is it really that you're saying when you create with I want a physical person that does this? Well, it also could be that you're looking and attracted to somebody that is has more of a cleaner look, or more of a trendy look, or more whatever, right? A healthy look, to really translate what that list is. And so we had a lot of fun last night, and
oh my God,
so much fun.
Go ahead, Norman.
I would have been a fly on the wall with you guys, or live there, because exactly what you just said, okay, is what I wouldn't say the word preach as a male, let's say the women. But when they question, what do you do? What are you doing? What do you drive? This and that. I've said this before and you've heard it. Do you own your own home? No, I lease, whatever. I don't care about the materialistic things that people have out there. You cannot, and I repeat, take it with you when you're gone. And life is too short. Be yourself. Be authentic. Show what you just said, Amelia. Take the coat off. Kiss the person, hold them, or whatever it may be, and then learn about the more other things. What a lot of men, and I hear from other women, like to brag, they have the fancy bling bling, this and that. Yes, some are pressed, but deep down, it's lonely. Who cares what net worth you're worth? Money does help, but guess what? I didn't come from it all. I do what I do. Tara saw me yesterday with my kids on a live video. That's who I am. And that's what I try and say that to get across ourselves. But we all got to be self-conscious of ourselves. If that other person's not, then they're not for you. When they start texting all this stuff, where are we going away, this and that, why don't you get to know me first before we get into all that stuff? Land my plane.
Go ahead, Carm.
You know, yeah, it was. I honestly regret that there weren't cameras rolling or recordings on, because we had such a interesting, diverse group of people, from, you know, a young filmmaker in his early 30s to some of us mature folk to mid, previously married, divorced, all that stuff. So it was great to see that. And at the end of the day, there were people that, when it comes down, and sorry for the airport noise here, sometimes when you show up, it's so funny because if you know Amelia, you think you know Amelia, and then you think you know a lot of people, but how people show up in their real life or in their business life isn't necessarily who they are in their romantic or work life. Part of my session yesterday is I have a segment coming up on the list talking about workplace romance. And in workplace romance, it's actually said that 37, I think it was a 37% of increase post-pandemic of workplace romances. And I had to talk about the rules about that. And I actually asked Amelia, you're a CEO. What do you think about, two people who are going to fall in love or thinking about a relationship at work? And she said some really interesting things from the point of view that, her employees or the people she has with her are assets. So imagine, like when your romance and love can be terribly, not toxic, terribly challenging, right? Especially in the workspace. You have to have, in my mind, a real awareness for what you can actually tolerate and a prediction of how are you going to handle conflict, who's going to do what, who are we going to tell? I mean, there's so much conversation around entering a workplace romance that I think people are more careful about, but those same conversations should actually be happening in real life dating. And in speaking to certain people, sometimes people tend to, speaking to Hattie Dijamal, she is a on-air host and national correspondent for The List, amongst many other things. And I interviewed her on my Fireside Show last Monday, and she said, in the beginning, when I was growing up as a little girl, I would always be quiet because I was always told I was too loud. And I would never, I was always told I was the center of attention, and she was made to feel bad for being who she was. It wasn't until she grew up and grew older that said, hey, I'm going to be who I am, and you're either for me or you're not for me. But I think so many people arrive in dating situations caring more about what the other side feels and caring more about judgment. And so they're not going to be themselves. They're going to play small. And this is for the most part. But when you can own that, hey, I'm a certain person, I come with these qualities, I'm going to show up as authentically me as I can, and the right person will show up, and the wrong people will repel from me, and that's totally fine. I love that. There's just so much conversation, and I just want to say that it's not luck. Sometimes it is, but I think we all fully control our destiny to the degree that we have to be responsible and know, our strengths, our weaknesses, what we can improve on, and really this is why tools like the Genius Key and people and these rooms and these conversations are so helpful. So anyway, we've got 6 minutes left, Amelia. I'll let you lead, so I'll pass it back to you.
I just had so much fun, though. I want you to know my face hurts from just the laughing and the giggling. And so much fun.
You went home way past your bedtime, like way past. She came to my hotel at like 9:30. She was on the road from 9. I don't think she got home till midnight, and we could have gone till like 6 in the morning. So yeah, it was super great.
And we are going to we have to take our our blade chopper up north. There's just too many people here. Yeah.
Oh, we're coming. By the way, if I can just chime into what Cornelia said, I think that's brilliant. So oftentimes we are pretending to be someone else when we're showing up in a relationship, and then we're surprised when the other person expects us to be someone else, right? So it's important to really show up as your authentic self. Unless you're an ass, then be somebody else. No, I'm joking, but seriously, we need to show up, as the saying goes, our vibe attracts our tribe. So if you're putting out the wrong vibe, you're putting out something that isn't really you're not being authentic, and then you attract somebody to that vibe, that relationship long-term isn't going to work out, right? So you've got to make sure that you're being authentic, be really who you are, so that there are no surprises. Because most people are surprised, well, I can't believe that person is like that. No, they were probably like that the whole time, but the mask finally came off. So it's important to go into a relationship with that trust and that authenticity, because your vibe really does attract your tribe. If you're vibing something that isn't you, so you're faking it, and you're showing up as someone you're not, don't be surprised if you attract somebody that's doing the exact same thing, right? Because if you're being fake in a relationship, for lack of a better word, you're likely going to attract, or the likelihood of you attracting someone else that's also playing that same game is pretty strong. So just remember that your vibe really does attract your tribe. So if you don't like the people that are
I
around
think
you,
the other thing that was so really, again, I love Carm. We had really such a good time, and we have a lot of commonalities. I think it gave her an opportunity that, being a female CEO, and for me specifically, how much that responsibility and that role means to me. And it does have an impact on my personal life. It does. It just absolutely does. And it shows up in, very interesting ways. And I think that, being able to spend, a large part of time together really gave her insights of other women like me who are in these very responsible roles, how it does make a difference when we're choosing, dating, right? It just does. And it's not right or wrong. It's just different. And it was really great. And we just really had some really deep conversations on how we approach this, and how difficult it can be, when you're not truly clear on who and what, has importance to you, and how many people that are in the space that are trying to figure it out as well. So there was just some really good conversations, and dinner last night was just phenomenal. Thanks, Carm.
Hey, Amelia, it's great. Oh, I'm sorry. There's always the fine line between trying to jump in before it ends and making sure you don't cut somebody off. So sorry about that, Camelia. But I just want to say, I don't know if anyone said, luck is like when opportunity meets preparation. I think that's for dating too, because, sometimes I've been asked out. I'm like, oh, I don't, I haven't even done my hair. My roots are terrible. I don't have anything to wear. I have sometimes I think with dating, you have to be prepared too. And so create your own luck, perhaps. I've just had those thoughts. I wondered what anyone else thought.
I'll just say this, and that applies to business and to life in general, is the best way to get ready is to stay ready. Right? Yeah, just to stay ready. And that doesn't mean, by the way, because if we're taking care of ourselves on a regular basis, we feel better about ourselves anyway. I mean, certainly, the shirt that I'm wearing doesn't match the shorts that I'm wearing, but I'm on a Zoom call. Or I'm on video, but I'm not full video. Yeah, but I'm not going to go out. When I go out, it's not about being vain or anything, but when I go out, I always try to go out looking presentable, unless you're working in the garden and you're going out in that way, but that's different. In today's world, you see people going around in their pajamas and, just all disheveled. Again, not to criticize anyone or anything, yet just understand that when you're taking care of yourself, you're putting out a different vibe. You're putting out a different energy that's going to attract that energy as well. So best way to get ready is to stay ready. And I understand, doing our hair and makeup. I was telling Amelia this morning that I got to go do hair and makeup, which to me is just, shaving and put some gel in my hair. But really the best way to get ready is to stay ready. And you never know the next opportunity is going to come. So be ready for it because it's out there.
Just keep that bag in your trunk just in case, right? The clothes.
Okay, are we hopping back over? We got to hop back over.
Yes, we are going to hop back over to Breakfast with Champions.
How do I get back over there?
Figure that out yourself, and that's how you do that.
Appreciate that, Ken. Thank you so much, man. It's an honor and a privilege. Me and my boy James Sims used to go back and forth on your trading cards, man, on your baseball card. Whenever we got a Kenny Lofton, that was what's up. That was a good moment. That we had some bargaining chips at that point. So I appreciate your fight, your hustle, who you were in the league.
Thank you.
Amazing. Let's pass it back off to Tyree. Tyree, if you want to, we're at the hour here, so Tyree, if you want to close it down, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, Glenn. It's always a pleasure. I know this is our first Clubhouse of 2022, and you never fail us. You always have such a great group, which we love to be a part of. So feel free to reach out to Marshall on all the social media platforms at Marshall Falk. is his handle on all of them. You can reach out to us. Thank you for asking about our financial literacy curriculum. We're happy to send you all a How Many Works book. If you just reach out and let us know, we can get you plugged into that so you can see Dave's secrets for financial success as well as Marshall's. And obviously you can reach David at dmeltzer.com for any of his programs and nugget bombs, get him plugged into all of his free trainings and everything. Marshall, I don't know if you want to say a few words just to leave with everybody on this fantastic Friday, and then we'll pass it back over to you.
I just want to thank everybody for allowing us to share with them this morning, for being a part of this call. When you get up in the morning and you decide that you want to be stimulated mentally, you are a champion, and it's a pleasure to have breakfast with you.
Thank you, and Glenn, we'll pass it back over to you.
Sounds awesome, man. This has been an incredible morning all the way around. Can you guys make some noise for this awesome panel, Brian?
Woohoo!
Thank you.
That was so good, you guys.
Thanks, Marshall. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
So incredibly amazing, man. What a crazy world we live in, right?
So good, bro. So good.
Such a crazy world we live in that we can sit here and have these conversations and literally change the way we start our day, right? The access is just unbelievable, you know? What a great time to be alive. And I know that many of you have had struggles over the last 2 years. I know that many of you have experienced loss of loved ones over the last 2 years, mental battles every day, it seems, over the last couple of years. And so I know sometimes on the outside looking in, it can feel like a terrible time to be alive, right? But if you flip the switch on that, if you really look at what's happening, and if you really look at how humans are coming together collectively in a way never before, right? Unprecedented. Our ability to access information, people like Marshall Falk going out there and shifting their identities so that they can make an impact on the next generation. Like when you look in the small, it feels like it could be a terrible time. But when you look at it from the big picture, this is going to be a season that we will all look back on. God willing, we all live to be 125 years old. We're all going to look back at this blip and say, golly, what an amazing time that was to be alive, right? What an amazing time to be alive. So thank you guys so much. That's been incredible. This is Breakfast with Champions, the Millionaire Breakfast Club, your opportunity to get a seat at the table. We are here Monday through Saturday from 5 a.m. to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, bringing you motivation, education, inspiration, celebrity interviews, and just overall powerful conversations. This room is going to continue to feed you motivation, education, and inspiration all day, the rest of the day today. We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll be back again next week, and we're just going to keep on bringing it as long as God gives us the opportunity to do so. With that said, you can do us a huge favor. I would love it if you would hit the little square at the bottom of your screen. Hit that square. It's got a little arrow on it. It makes a little pop-up that says share on Clubhouse, share via Twitter, copy link, invite people. Let's click on the one there at the top that says share on Clubhouse. Go ahead and write a title, just a quick little title. Something like, oh my gosh, Kenny Lofton in the room, Marshall Falk was in the building, Brian Boger in the house, Clinton. Crazy, right? Write some type of title or label and go ahead and share this out into the Clubhouse streets. I would greatly appreciate it, because next on the stage is my dear friend, Mrs. Amelia Antonetti. Whenever Amelia has a segment on here, it's always transformational. Always. If you are in this room, in this space right now at this time, I just want you to know that that's not by chance. It was a choice. It wasn't by chance. It was a choice. You chose to be into this space. Now, you might have thought it was willy-nilly or happenstance, but there was something in you vibrationally that brought you into this space at this exact moment, in this exact time. And so prepare yourself for what's about to happen, because Amelia
always transforms the lives of the people that she comes in contact with. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Amelia Antonetti. Mike is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn. I'm so excited. I just love this. I love all the back chat, little direct messages that I'm getting from people going, I didn't think about it that way. I didn't think about it that way. I love the headline, failure will no longer be payment for my struggle. And I absolutely, my highest and best self is when I can help you understand how to utilize the struggle for what it is that you want, what you believe, what you are here for, so that you create what we call genius living. Right? There is no struggle that happens without a purpose. There is a purpose for everything. And the faster that you understand how to use it to energetically pour that energy into momentum, the bigger and the better life that you get to build for yourself. And I love that, right? So failure for me, that whole word is just a directional guide, right? Failure just tells you that that direction did not work. Mark on your way out so you do not travel back that way again, and then just deploy into another avenue, right? So failure for me, I do not have an emotional attachment other than knowing that that tells me that that road did not work. And so I'm excited. So Randy, I know you're here. Hello, Randy. Hello, Tony. We got a lot of the G100 people here today. I am just excited to dive into this whole topic of what can we replace this theory of luck with to get us to where we want to go. So good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, sisters.
Glenn really introduced this hour so great.
Well, that is his genius, by the way. Glenn can literally get, anybody motivated to do anything. So that's the gift that he has.
But I mean, the whole idea about it was a choice. And we're now on our third hour of talking about luck. And I'm going to launch something. I mean, I've been listening. I told Tony I'd be quiet for the third hour, and now I'm going to come out with all this great stuff.
The genius comes out.
I usually say that I feel lucky to be here, which is true. I feel lucky, Amelia. We've been doing shows together in Clubhouse over a year now. Through this show, the people I meet from Amelia, the people I introduced to her, our lives have changed tremendously. We're meeting people who are changing our lives. But are we throwing the word, Amelia, I feel lucky, around just a little bit too carelessly? You can say you feel lucky, but what does that really mean?
Well, I think it depends on the person who's saying it, right? When you translate, I feel lucky, for some people, it means I feel safe and I feel secure. For other people, it feels that I feel lucky means that they believe that they're moving into a more positive direction. When some people say I lucky, it's because something happened and they can't explain why it happened. So luck must have been it, right? So you have to decode what somebody is really saying when they say, I am lucky, or I feel lucky, or that person is lucky, right? That's what we've been doing here in the last hour, was decoding what you say. What does that really mean of what somebody is saying? And so I think in the relationship hour that we just came out of, when somebody says, oh, good luck in your dating journey, what they're really saying to you is, I don't have a clue what I want. And so I'm just going to wish you luck. Because that is what that means. That is what it's translating. I don't know what I want. I do not know what I am looking for. And if you're in that realm and you are engaging with people who do not know what they want and what they're looking for, there's no way you're going to have something positive with that person, because they have not done the pre-work. Anything that is successful required pre-thinking. Pre-work, right? So I say that the success formula is 50% is in the thinking, 25% is in the planning, and then 25% is in the execution. So just using the room that we came out of about relationships, if somebody's out there trying to date and they have not spent the time, which is the 50% of who am I, what has meaning to me, what do I want versus what do I need, how do those things have value to me? Then what is the plan in order for me to be able to present who I am in a loving, meaningful way so that somebody can, get to know me, that has a good experience, and then execute, say, here's the tools that I'm going to use. If they're just out there randomly dating, hoping that it works, that is a disaster.
I love that explanation because I tried to think, for me, what it means is I feel happy and I feel humble. If I look at that, because I also, for me, I don't like to gamble. I don't necessarily believe in luck. It's great. I'm not pessimistic about the concept. I just believe in keeping my head down and keeping focused and keeping things moving. So that's what has been really interesting about what we've heard so far. And I'm sure we don't have a guest today, for people who are wondering. There's no special guest. You all are the guests. Everybody,
we are the special. We are the special.
We call it, actually, I call this a family show. When we do this, I say, Amelia, let's do a family show, and we're going to invite the people that we are lucky to know who come to hear us. We're going to invite people to come up to the stage, share their own story, ask their own questions, and just, I always say to people about this show, this is the nicest group of the most supportive, kind people who will always find the right thing to say to someone else coming in this room who is in crisis in some way. And I haven't experienced anything like these people before.
Oh, listen, the Genius G100 group is spectacular. Both the Denim Club and the Sisterhood, right? Because we all come together with this grace that we are all learning and growing. So we make a lot of mistakes along the way while we're growing, but we give each other room in order to do that. So I'm excited about it. Now, I know that for some of the people that are in we just went through a process this last week of analyzing where we're putting our time, our energy, our focus, our resources, to really take a look to see of what we're putting out, if it's actually in our 5 areas of focus. And I know a lot of people came into some interesting awarenesses, and none of this has to do with luck, right? This is actually the intention. And what happens is our calendars get very, very sloppy. We put time into areas that are just not moving towards our highest and our best self. So if you guys would like to start sharing some of the things that you've been thinking about this week, how it pertains to this topic. I love the headline for this room, that failure no longer will be payment for your suffering. I'd love to hear from you amazing people. So let's see what people are thinking about right now as we dive into this topic.
Hello, I'm for Wanda.
I feel lucky to be here, and at a much deeper level today than on other days. But I do feel lucky to be here because there is, while it's true that there's that line that says there's no such thing as luck, and to a large extent in life and business that's true. But I do feel particularly lucky to be here today because of something that just happened. So honored to be part of the stage with you.
Is it me or he's faint?
He's faint.
Your mic is really low.
We can hear you though. I didn't want too much background noise. I just said that I'm just happy to be here, honored to be here with you, and honored to be part of your journey, Amelia, and everyone in the G100, everyone that I've had the opportunity to touch their lives and them to touch mine. So lucky and grateful to be here.
So who else wants to share about some of the things that came into awareness as you guys were diving through your assessment this last week?
Wanda.
Hello, Wanda.
Hi. So as I was listening this week, I started thinking, is my life wonderful, or do I choose for my life to be wonderful? And so being in the call today has me pondering longer into this thought that it is me who chooses to live the life, to enjoy the moments of life that I experience. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that, because yes, we can choose happiness. We can choose whatever we decide to choose, right? It is a choice on how we show up. And it starts with how we choose to, what we choose in the morning. I always say I wake up happy because I choose to wake up happy, and then I move from there. Who else would like to shout? I want to do a little shout out to Hunt. Boy, I learned so much from you last night. I don't know if you're actually really listening, but I just wanted to say thank you so much because I got a lot of wonderful knowledge nuggets from you. And you were definitely in my gratitude journal this morning when I was writing.
Hi.
Hello.
Meredith.
Hello, Meredith.
How are you? So I have really been doing some serious inner work this last week. I've come to the conclusion that the final piece of the puzzle is to get in touch with my inner child, which is really, really tough work. But I'm doing it. I wrote a piece that I read yesterday. You probably catch it on the podcast from yesterday morning when Lolita was here, and it really resonated with me when I wrote it. Words just came out, and it was really good. If you get a chance, check out yesterday's podcast. Lolita's segment was when I read it. But basically, I put all of my heart and soul and my pain into this piece. It just came out. And actually today, I feel so much lighter. Yesterday we were talking about starting a new life, and so I have shed a lot of the things that were holding me back and blocking me, and cut some people out of my life that were no longer serving me, and I'm just a happier person for it. And yes, we do make a choice and how we're going to face our day. It's a choice of whether or not we're going to be positive. It's a choice whether we decide to do the work. We have to do the work no matter what. And in order for me to be able to serve others, I have to do the work on myself. And that's all I've got.
Well, first of all, yes, and I did listen to your poem. You and Lolita yesterday had such beautiful readings. And such an incredible talent to be able to take us on a journey through emotions, right? And so it was absolutely, absolutely spectacular. That is definitely a gift I do not have, but boy, do I admire it. And I will say that the relationship that we have with our inner child is such a beautiful relationship. Many of us forget to keep that relationship intact between us and our inner child and us and our adult self and us and our higher self. But the relationship with the inner child, I think, is at the essence of everything. And so the fact that you and your inner child are reconnecting and establishing a brand new romance with each other, intimacy with each other, love for each other, safety for each other, in a combined journey of where you guys would like to go next. I think it's so beautiful. And so I'm so excited. I think that the piece that you shared yesterday is one of many, many pieces that you will be sharing with us. And I just want to say thank you. And we are watching and we are celebrating as you take the steps forward.
Thank you, Maria. That means a lot coming from you. It really does.
Where are our other genius sisters? Yes.
This is Marcus Ellis. I saw Kenny on mic. I think he wants to share, and then when he's done, I'd like to share something about him pertaining to life when he's done.
Oh, thank you. So I was talking about the word when you was talking about luck. I wanted to throw that into the piece to where if you have the word luck, it's what you put into it. If you have a whole lot of, like I just use the NBA, you have the lottery balls. The more opportunities that you put yourself out there to have a chance to succeed, that luck will pop in because you're in the ball game. You got to be in the lottery. You got to be in it to win it. But again, you have that, that time where people do get really lucky. But I think what you put in is going to help that case of you feeling or getting that luck behind you. But you have to put the work in, because then the more opportunity you get for that lucky opportunity to pop up will happen. So just wanted to say that.
I listen, I love that. You got to get in the game first, right? You can't be lucky if you're not in the game. And I think that, especially if we're using a sports analogy, you've got to be prepared. I was just listening to Will Smith's new book, right? Will, which is brilliant, by the way. And he talks about how in his head, he really thought that he was going to be able to do a slam dunk, you know, and he paints this picture of being, you know, an awkward kid who is running around the court with cowboy boots on, and he really in his head thought he was going to just jump up and do a slam dunk, which is not at all what happened, right? And so you have to be prepared. You have to hone those skills, because when the opportunity is there, then you can take it. But if you're not in the game and if you're not prepared, then you're missing a big part of the formula. And I think that you know, that athletic mindset is something that I absolutely resonate with, right? Because it makes that sense, being prepared, you know, thinking about how many times you have practiced before the game, you know. And so as a CEO, I use that same type of mentality. I practice way before I come up to bat. I have practiced, right, what that's going to be before I actually get there. I hone my skills. And so I love that. I love that share. You've got to get in the game. I can't tell you how many people criticize the fact that they don't have opportunities and they don't have luck and they're not even in the game. They're sitting on the sidelines. And so I think that's beautiful. Who was next? I can't remember who was who.
Well, I wanted to share something about Kenny that really just expands on what you just said, Amelia. When I was of the generation that I was watching him play a lot. And I know this stat because I'm a baseball guy. And Kenny, I don't know how many years you played, 15, 20 years. But we had a joke as kids that whatever team Kenny Lofton was on, they were going to be in the postseason, because he was in the postseason 11 times. Crazy. And it's the strategy of those ball teams. He played for a lot of baseball teams. He bounced around a lot because he was highly sought after in the outfield. So it was the strategy of those ball clubs, of those GMs, to get him on the team, because once again, he was in 11 postseason teams. That just doesn't happen in baseball. So it's all about strategy and planning and preparing, like you're saying, Amelia, because those ball clubs prepared to get him on their team because they knew he was going to propel them to the postseason. So that's what I wanted to share there, and it's an honor to have you here, Ken.
Well, thank you. I look at that as luck is almost like an algorithm. You know, that's what it is. It just pops up, and just, you know, but more opportunity that you're in is going to pop up your chances. So again, life is an algorithm. You have to be prepared. Like you said, you be prepared to get in the game. And once that happens, a lot of good things can happen. So it's not so much luck, but you prepare for good things to happen.
Well, the other thing that it tells me, Kenny, about you, right, is being always bringing that special sauce to whatever team that you're on, is that you in your leadership, whether you know it or not, have that glue ability, right? There are some champions, right? There's a difference between having a championship team and a team of champions, right? Having a team of champions are those big individual personalities, right, that have raw talent, but that doesn't make them a championship team. That's a different type, right? That's bringing the camaraderie of an amazing talent together, that they are stronger together than they are individually. And so you have that glue, that type, that likability and trustability that your teammates, no matter what team they put you on, gravitate to you. And there is a energetic energy in that relationship that they want to amplify you and you amplify them. In the business world, I say never underestimate the power of the second in command. The second in command is the one who will take the company from being $1 million to 10 or 100 million. That second command on the court is the game changer for the game. I can go on and on and on of that pairing that happens, that 1-2 punch on a team that makes all of the difference. But if you can bring in the talent who is also the glue, it changes everything about the team, whether it's sports or your C-suite.
By the way, I just want to chime in and say that what Kenny just said was brilliant, because it's an algorithm, but you've got to be in the game. It's like I said, you know, in the prior segment that we were on, is that opportunity knocks on everybody's door, but you've got to be willing to open the door. You've got to be willing to seize the opportunity. You've got to have been prepared, right? The best way to get ready, or to be ready is to get ready is to stay ready, to always be ready. And I love that that, Kenny, because you have to be in the game. You've got to be in the arena. You've got to be out there doing the work so that you recognize the opportunity, have the ability to seize it. So I do love that. And Randy just messaged me something that was important. Amelia, I know you had already mentioned G100, and for those of us who know what that is, great. If not, can you give us a brief explanation of what G100 is? And before Amelia does that, though, we're going to invite you. I know that Glenn did it before. I'm going to invite you again to hit that little square down at the bottom and hit share. Share this onto Clubhouse. Share on social media. We are streaming across LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you happen to be watching on one of those platforms, make sure that you're sharing it there as well. And of course, on Clubhouse, share it to your hallway, share it to individuals, ping some people into the room, because this is one of those conversations that is worth sharing. You must share. You never know. That may be the thing that unlocks the lucky in the person that you bring into the room. So thank you again for everyone who's sharing. Kenny, big fan, love what you do, and I love what you just shared.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kenny, very much. I'm excited now. I'm following you, and I'm excited to even learn more now. So I'm going to be like stalking you so I can listen to you talk, because I like the way your mind works. And I think that that's what's so valued, to be able to tap into your thinking. So thank you for sharing it. It's very exciting for me to listen to the thinking, right? That's what really kind of is my jam, is when I can listen to other people who have scaled to the very top to see how they think. So thank you for sharing your mind.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Who else has been decoding their work this week, or taking a look at what we've been talking about as far as our thoughts around luck, something being outside of yourself? I'd love to hear about other people's work that's going on right now.
I can go ahead and share a little bit about it. This is Susie, by the way.
Go, Susie. Yeah, Susie, please. Yeah.
So one of the things that I noticed, besides doing too many, not wasting, but putting too much time into my job, I'm still working, and it's taking away a lot of time. I noticed that I'm not taking care of myself as I should be taking care of myself. And everything starts with self. So I really need to pay attention to, how am I going to modify my schedule so I can feel complete and not feel like I have to do something else before me. So that was my aha thing for me, because I thought I was taking care of myself, and it turned out I'm not doing the best job.
Well, and you're in very good company there. I mean, right? Because it is much easier for us to take care of other people, especially other people that we see value and have put them as a priority, right? So it's very easy to fall into taking care of others and then leave us depleted. And I think that happens far often for everybody, not just you. And then to be able to stop and realize that what you are doing is that you are giving away the best parts of you into things, people, places, activities, projects. And then you have to see, are those things that you are investing in, whether that's, again, resources, time, money, focus, whatever that is, are those your designed, chosen 5 areas of focus? Because if you are giving the best version of you to the things that you have not said are intentionally where you want to go, that is your biggest gap. That is your biggest gap. And we get pulled in to other people's fires. Other people have a fire. Other people have a problem. And they call the strongest person that they know, and they suck them right into their fire. And so the skill to say, wait a minute, I do not have a fire. There is no fire in this being. You have a fire, and the work is on their side, right? To be loving and to be supportive. But if you keep running into other burning buildings and putting the fire out, the person has no ability to put out their own fires. You're not helping them. They're going to continue to create fires in you and everybody around them with no ability to put it out. And so when you start thinking about the need for you to take care of yourself is so that when you're called upon, you are at your highest and your strongest, right? And as we get depleted, we make mistakes, right? It's when I'm depleted that I'm running all over the place trying to put out everybody's fire. Well, the reason I'm putting everybody else's fire out is because I am not solid in myself. I'm not solid. I'm not taking care of my own self. And then you caught me at a weak moment and then I do bad things, right? Because they're not of where I'm really trying to go. And so you're just a vicious cycle with a million other people. So the fact that you were able to recognize I am putting way too much time and energy and effort into something that is not my highest priority. And as you feed your highest priorities, the other priorities that are lined up right behind it get more and more focused and more impactful.
Can I add to that a little bit, Amelia?
Yeah, I'd like to answer.
This is Sally. I love what you just said, Amelia. I was about to say it, and then you said it. But I want to add something to it. One thing that you said was, basically, if we're putting out the fires that everyone else, in our around us, that's taking the attention of what's happening in our own life, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is, if we are, a lot of times we want people to be comfortable around us, because if they're comfortable around us, all the people around us are comfortable, and we can take part in making those people comfortable, and that keeps us comfortable. So I think that's why a lot of times when, if someone's hurting, they're in grief, and someone comes up to you and says, oh, you're going to be okay, you're fine, it's okay. It's because that's what they want. They need that person to be okay, so that way they can be okay. You understand that, Amelia? I know you understand that so well. I had a friend one time, I was going through a divorce, I was grieving, and she sat across from me and she said, it's fine, you're going to be fine, it's okay. And I looked at her and I go, why are you saying that? I'm not fine right now. And I don't want you to make me want me to be fine right now so that you're comfortable hanging out with me. I'm not okay, and I just need you to be okay with me not being okay.
Amen to that.
I just wanted to share that.
No, listen, I was, like I said, I did a lot of decoding yesterday. I'm so tired, but I was listening on a misalignment of a team, and the team was saying, listen, you one individual are pulling so much energy from the team that maybe this is a you issue and not a team issue. And there was a hard stop. And even though everybody on the team was expressing, hey, listen, I hear what you have to say, we've given an enormous amount of time, we have this other pending event, the individual kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. And so when you put a boundary up that says, hey, listen, I'm in real pain here, and you're ignored, or when you put a boundary up saying, hey, listen, I only have 5 minutes and then I need to go, and it's not respected, right? When you start to get into that somebody is not listening and respecting what you have put out there, that's the indication and the red flag. It's not a healthy relationship. So when you say to somebody, listen, my heart's broken right now and I'm not my best self and I need a moment to regroup, and they're like, oh, you're going to be fine, right? That's them jumping over, right, the substance you just handed, right? You just said, I need to go inward to take care of self because I am not okay. And somebody didn't listen to you to say, oh, no, you're perfectly fine. Who are you to tell me I'm anything, right? And so those are warning signs that that's not a healthy relationship. Now, it may not be a healthy relationship for a moment. It may not be a healthy relationship for a season, or it may not be a healthy relationship period for indefinitely, but you need a second to identify how unhealthy is it. Is it an instance or is it a pattern? So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just going to chime in to agree with what Sally said and with what you're saying now as well. Is you've got to set boundaries, because some people just they're so connected to their own story, and they're more connected. They're more connected, and they have more. Oh, that's too funny. Billy's just shaking things out. People are more loyal to their.
I'm pretending I'm Suzanne Summers.
That's so good. For those of you who aren't watching on video, she's just
vigorously shaking her water bottle to supplement to her water bottle. That was funny. But so many people are so stuck in their story that they actually don't want to. They don't want to solve their problem. They don't want to fix whatever's going on. They just want to suck you in, and because that's their significance, that's their connection. So not everybody wants the help, you know. And I promise this is PC. It sounds bad, but there's a lot of assholes in the world. They just ask, and they don't do it. And they do, instead of, I got 5 minutes, 55 minutes later, you're still talking about the same thing. And they come back tomorrow, and they come back next week and next month, and they talk to everybody about it. Everybody gives them a solution. They do none of them. So we do have to be careful with that. And to go back to what you were talking about before, Amelia, is if you find yourself in the same fire time and time again, in the same storm time and time again, that's because you haven't learned the lesson yet that life is trying to teach you. And you must learn to become a firefighter, if nothing else, to put out the fire, but also to recognize the signals that the fire is coming, or something's about to burn out of control, and you've got to pick up and learn those signals. That's where the experience of life comes from, and that's where sometimes having that advisor, having that strategist, having that coach, having that other person alongside you to say, hey, pay attention to that spark, because that's going to become a fire. Sometimes we need that until we can figure it out on our own. And sometimes, I will also say, it's easier to spot somebody else's fire than it is to spot your own. It's easier to put somebody else's fire out before putting out your own. So anyway, just wanted to, but
So Tony, I just added, not yesterday, the day before, I just added to my should and my should nots, right? That I should not be reacting to other people's fires. That's a brand new one I just added. I should not be reacting to other people's fires. That is not my job, nor is it my responsibility.
So Tony and Amelia, this is Corey. Is it ever healthy to stay in that sorry for me state? I mean, or grieving state, or, I mean, how do you go from the transition of understanding that you've been there for too long and you need to get out? Or is it, as soon as it happens, you need to start self-talking yourself out into a new plane or a new way?
You know, if I can just say, so I'll just jump in real quick, because I don't know if it was Sally that was saying that, or I forget who was speaking before, is, oh, it's going to be okay. No, you've got to give yourself a little bit of time to grieve. You've got to give yourself a little time to recover, because if you start if you don't grieve, or if you don't allow yourself to feel that emotion, you're just burying it, and buried emotions never die, right? So you need to feel that emotion. You need to express it. It's just not healthy to stay in a quote-unquote negative emotion. Or then the argument comes up, are there really such things as negative and positive emotions? They're just emotions, but because we're all emotional beings. So all the emotions that you're feeling, sadness, depression, anger, rage, joy, excitement, ecstasy, whatever it is, those are all emotions that are healthy and are part of who we are. You know, they're that gauge on our cockpit of life. Just because they come up doesn't mean they're bad, right? It's just feedback, and you've got to learn to sometimes sit in it for a minute or an hour or a day or a month, and different people have different things. Yeah, it's just not okay to stay in a perceived negative emotion that's going to keep you in a down place, in a dark place. But it's okay to feel them, not okay to stay there.
I have a comment real quick, because this is something that was a game changer for me, is that Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, I'm very lucky, I know her and I've been able to interview her. She said something, I'll paraphrase it a little bit. The most successful people are those who spend the least amount of time feeling sorry for themselves. And I mean to tell you that, and I'm not saying don't take time for yourself, don't take time to regroup, but I'm also, man, that hit me hard. That hit me hard, because if I went through and looked at the amount of time I spent at my own little personal pity party because things weren't happening at the rate I wanted them to happen, sometimes you just hear those little things. And for me, Barbara saying that to me absolutely changed how I lived my life and how I viewed it. And every time I feel myself feeling sorry for myself, and I still do it, it's Barbara's voice that I listen to.
Yeah, you just don't stay there. You gotta move yourself. You've got to, and usually it has to do with motion, right? Motion equals emotion. You know, Tony Robbins talks about the triad. There's physiology first, right? It's how we're moving our body, how we're standing. Are you slumped over? Are you talking like in a really low voice? Are you slumped over and wallowing in your own self-pity? You know, of course, we can do that for a minute to until we can, but then we got to start to move, because when we move, it changes our emotion. Then what we focus on really impacts our emotion as well. The language, the words that we use have a lot to do with this. So it's okay to feel the emotions, okay to feel the loss, it's okay to do all of those things, just not okay to say that. Then you've got to start shifting and moving your body, changing your focus, and changing the words that you're using to describe that. So it's not okay to stay there for a prolonged period of time. Some may say, you know, stay there for, depending what's happening, maybe it's just 2 minutes, maybe it's 5 or 10 or 20 minutes or a day, but no more than a day. Of course, if it's a loss of a family member or friend, that's obviously a different situation. But more often than not, we're dwelling on things that shouldn't take that much time, and we've got to learn to forgive, let go, and be grateful for what remains.
And then Corey, my 2 cents on that is I want to be very hypersensitive to what meaning you are giving to what is it you're feeling, right? I think that is really, really, really important. So it's not about sitting in an emotion that doesn't feel good, right? Or what Tony is saying, you know, don't sit there too long. I want to be hyper focused on what meaning are you giving to it, right? I think that's the slippery slope, is that you can go down a rabbit hole having it mean a lot of things that it does not. Sometimes you are in pain in response to something that happened. That's it. You felt pain because something happened. It doesn't mean that that person doesn't love you. It doesn't mean that that person doesn't care about you. It doesn't mean any of those things. It only means all those things if you put the meaning there. Sometimes it is cause and effect and nothing else. And then the second thing I want to make sure that we consider is, just because something in a relationship currently has hit some bumpy roads, right? That right now the relationship is growing. And if it's growing, that means there is some conflict. Doesn't mean it's over. It means that it is time for new discussions, new boundaries, and new guidelines to put in place. You do not have to throw a relationship away. You can absolutely restructure the relationship in a healthier way. And that takes both people. Both people have to be willing to say, how it's working right now doesn't feel good to me. So my assumption is it's not feeling good to you either. Is this true? And for that person to go, yeah, you're right. Actually, it's not feeling good for me either. Great. So since we both agree that this is not feeling good and we want more from each other, something that is healthier than this, what can we each do differently so we don't keep coming back here? That doesn't mean the relationship's over. It means we're restructuring, just like a business. Sometimes a business has to get restructured because the way it is functioning no longer serves the business. And so think about those 2 areas, right, before you take action. Does that help?
Hey, Amelia, this is Gary.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Corey, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have something else to add?
No, I mean, to me, that brought clarity into everything that Tony had also said, and brought it all together with Randall as well. And putting meaning to it is something that I don't think I've taken the awareness to do. And so simply just reacting off of an emotion that is a reaction to something subconsciously that I'm not paying attention to. So for sure, thank you.
And I just want to say, we have learned in the North American mindset that when something happens, that's it, it's over, throw it away. We are such a disposable society. It's sad. Just because there is something that is happening that one of us doesn't feel good about, or there's a mistake, or there is bad behavior or whatever, doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean throw it away. We are not disposable people. And so we have to make room for people to make mistakes. And then we have to be willing to then deal with the pain If you hurt me, you were part of the equation that caused me pain. Now it is my responsibility to heal my pain, but there's going to be an ask. If you were the person who delivered pain and you value this relationship, there's going to be an ask for this relationship to continue. You cannot keep stepping on my foot and causing me pain because you're stepping on my foot. And then when I ask you, please stop stepping on my foot because it hurts me, we have to have that conversation. And if you say, no, I'm going to continue to step on your foot, then I have to say, okay, I then must step 2 steps back.
I have to say, you were speaking to me too so loud. Amelia, we've talked about this. Man, do I go into fires. Oh, wow. I'm the first person called into a fire. And what do? I march right in there. But I want to make a correlation from something from about 5 minutes ago. The people who pull you into the fire, if you're the person who goes in there, they're also the people that won't allow you to ever be on fire. They are the people who always say, you're fine, you're going to be great, and they dismiss your circumstances because it takes the focus off of them. It is very, very hard for me to walk away from those people, but I have actually done it, Amelia, since we met. Because this is something we talked about really early on 2 years ago. And it's hard to do to leave someone in pain, but when they caused me pain, and more than that, being disrespectful of what I was going through, I can't do that.
Randy, and this is what I say, right? If there is a person who continually causes pain for you, I assure you they're doing it to dozens of other people. The way you do one thing is the way you do one thing. And you know those people. They call you and they shit all over you, and then they call Tony and they shit all over Tony, and then they call me and they shit all over me. And they're throwing themselves out on everybody. Fix me, fix me, fix me, fix me, fix me, help me, help me, help me, fix me, fix me. And no matter how much you try to serve, they don't take the service from anybody because it's an inward journey. Even though I have a lot of love in my heart, I can't help you love you. You have to love you. You have to love you. And all the love I have for you isn't going to fill the void of the love that you don't love yourself. And that's the fire, right? And good-hearted people, and I am one of these people. I want people to feel good. I want people to see how I see them, right? Right. And Randy, you and I talk about that. I have a love for you, Randy, that might be illegal. I love you. I love you. I love Derek. I have a huge, I'm going to cry, huge amount of emotion for who you guys are in my life. And you've been there in some times in my life that really sucked. And you're such a good man. And you love people so deeply. And when I see people not love you the same way back, I want to snatch them right out of your life because they don't deserve you. They don't deserve you because they're not loving you the way you love. And it cannot be tilted. You are emotionally, physically, and spiritually available for the people that you love in your life. And that should be your minimum that you ask in return.
Should and should nots. You know, Amelia, Randy, I love all this is one of the best conversations, actually, Amelia, that I've ever heard you give. And being part of this G100, excuse me, I'm getting sick. One of the best things that's come out of this is your should and should nots. And for people down in the Garden of Excellence that have no idea what I'm talking about, it's this beautiful list that you create of should and should nots in your life so that you show up in your higher self. And I recently just went through something that was really, really painful. At first person, I really, truly wanted to call with Amelia. But because I know her should not so well, I knew that it would be draining for her. And this is such a great lesson because what we do is we learn to hold firm to those should and should nots so that we can show up as our highest, best version of ourselves. And that is what you have taught me, Amelia. And it was hard. I had the phone in my hand. I'm like, I need to, like, I know that you will give me insight that I so desperately need, but I respect you enough to know that you cannot handle that energetically. And if we could all do that with each other and meet each other with compassion and empathy and a different perspective, how different our connections and our groups and our relationships would be. I absolutely love this conversation, Amelia.
If I can just jump in here for a second, because I want to make an observation of a couple things. Number one, sometimes people, when you're the strong person that's always there for everyone else, putting out everybody else's fires, the reason that people don't come to your aid is because they think that you're so strong because you're strong for everybody else. So they just don't believe that there's anything wrong. Because Amelia, your life is perfect. Randy, your life is perfect.
Nowhere near perfect. I'm nowhere near.
Listen, and my life is far from perfect. Yet, when you're the fireman, everybody thinks that that you're bulletproof, and perhaps, and so sometimes people aren't doing it out of malice. But yes, to your point, Randy, sometimes people discount your pain because, like, they actually discount it, while others just don't even acknowledge that you can be in pain because you're a tough guy. And you're the one that's doing those things and putting out fires for people. So that's the first thing. So I'm hesitant to say that everybody that does that is bad. Some people just think that you're bulletproof, and none of us are really bulletproof. So I just wanted to make that acknowledgement. The other thing that Amelia was saying is that, or two things. Number one, you can't want somebody's outcome and success in their dream. You can't want it more than they can, period. I don't care who you are. There's only so much that you can do. You can actually push people into success, but they won't stay there, right? And then, of course, the next one, which is super important, you can't love anyone more than they love themselves. And boom, that one is so powerful. And it's important to recognize that you can only, because here's the reason why you can't love someone more than they love themselves. Because you can't get to the depth of the love that they need, because you can only get as deep as they love themselves. So if they don't love themselves deeply, they can't. Doesn't matter how much love you pour into them, they'll never get as deep as they really want and need it, because they don't love themselves that deeply. So we can only love others and receive love from others as much as we love ourselves, to the depth that we love ourselves. So again, I go back, it all goes back to forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. And that's another conversation for another day, but I just want to point out those three things because those are big. People don't understand how big those three gems are that are being spoken about today are. So back to you, Amelia.
Well, and the tool, the practice of the should and should nots. I mean, the reason why I come back to these tools over and over and over again is because they have been my lifeline on being able to stay focused forward and continue to build and continue to grow, right? These are my tools. This is how I do it. And my should and should nots, boy, when I read them, I have to sometimes, like right now, because I've got some new ones on there, I'm reading them 6 and 7, 8 times a day, because my instinct is I want to pick up the phone and I want to jump in and start to get into fix it mode. And that's exactly the problem, is I can only fix, right? Or help or solve or love or what, all those things to the level that you have done for yourself. Right. And so the inward journey that I am pushing and pushing and pushing people to do is that depth not only helps you when you're loving self, it then increases the love that you receive from everybody trying to love you. There's people around you right now trying to love you, but because you're only 2 inches deep, they can only get 2 inches. So if I can get you to get to 4 inches, you're going to go, oh my God, like my love doubled in my life. No, it's been there all the time. It's been there all the time. You've got to deepen your well, deepen your well. And so it's always said in love, but like what I was saying with Gabby yesterday when we were talking, it sucks. It sucks when you're trying to dig within yourself. If I got to go from 2 inches to 4 inches, that's some hard work. That's some really hard work. And guess what? Nobody can do it for me. Nobody can do it for me. Like, and I try, like each week I'm trying to dive in and help people with their homework or whatever, but they still have to sit with it and do it themselves, because that's the only person who can tell you whether that work is right. right? I can give you guidelines and I can point you in one direction or another, but then you got to sit with it and go, ooh, oh, ooh, that one hit home, right? Because then you know that you're going in the right direction. And so I'm also very vulnerable to be doing my own work at the same time. I'm doing my work with spectators, right? To be able to go, wow, I just made a mistake here. And what does that mean? And what does that tell me about myself? And where's that pattern? Where did I learn it before? And how did I fall off the cliff on that one? And what am I going to do differently? And does it hurt? Yes, it hurts. Why does it hurt? I'm doing the same thing everybody else is doing, right? And it's hard. It's hard to have healthy adult relationships where I'm not just going to call and spew my shit all over you. And now you feel bad and I feel better. If you feel bad and I feel better, that's dysfunction. That's dysfunction, right? We both should be growing. And so the only way the conversations we both growing is if I first sit with it myself and I go, all myself, what can I have done differently? What do I need to do? What is the new thing that I do? And then have a discussion and go, hey, listen, Randy, I just came into some awareness things about myself. This is what I see. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm doing differently in my life. And for him to mirror and go, yeah, Amelia, yeah, I really think you really should be taking better care. Yes, I agree with what you just said. He's not doing the work for me. I did the work. And I'm sharing it with him. And then I have my ask. Listen, I'm really struggling with it. It's brand new. Can you help me that when you see me on social media at midnight, remind me that one of my commitments are I actually need more sleep, right? That he's not doing the discipline. He's not putting in the tool. I am doing the work and I'm asking him to help me glue it into place. That's healthy.
Can I make another comment real quick because it's related to all of this since I always confess everything I do wrong? We firefighters tend to be fixers. We want to fix everything. So we earn the role of firefighter. It's not like, people learn because it's our behavior that brings that in, and I get that. I am almost 60, and Amelia and I have discussed this offline. I know a ridiculous number of adults who are being abused by their adult children right now. And it's ridiculous. Almost every week, somebody is calling me with another story about an adult child who is just really mistreating them. I'm a fixer. I want to fix it. I can't fix it. And I'm almost 60. And Amelia, I finally learned sometimes you just have to shut up and listen and not go into the fire and not fix it because you can't. And the only thing you could do is listen and nod. And that is painful for people like me. Painful.
That's why they say empathy is the hardest skill to learn. Empathy is the hardest, right? If shame vibrates the lowest before death, empathy vibrates the highest. And so in order to practice empathy, that means that I'm going to sit over here, even though I want to jump in so badly onto your side, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to empathize that you're in an enormous amount of pain and that things that are happening in your life right now are out of your control and are downright abusive. And I'm not going to jump in, right? Because I have no power on your side. I only have power in mine. And to sit in empathy is the hardest skill to practice. The hardest skill to practice, in my humble opinion.
Especially when you're that firefighter. And the reality is sometimes it's not, you can't and you shouldn't try to put out the fire. All you can give them is shelter in a safe place, right? While the fire is burning, sometimes you just got to protect them and give them that space. Not that I'm a fan of that bit, but you've got to create that space and that shelter for them because there is nothing that sometimes you can do because the problem is not solvable by you. It's solvable by them or by their situation or something else that's happening beyond your control. So just give people that shelter and that safe space in order to just be.
So in January-ish, right around January, so there's literally something I watch every single day, right? So in January, I stumbled upon Oprah's quote, and I'm going to probably botch it. So I'm going to apologize up front. And so she says something like, you can love somebody and still be happy they're no longer in your life, right? You can really love somebody and then know they just cannot be in your life. And that was just this big emotional journey that I went through in Q4, right? My love for somebody has not changed. Love deeply. But the person is not good for me. And so I had to learn, I am still learning, very hard am I learning to love to the depth that I love. This Italian girl loves ferociously from afar. And that isn't something that I have learned to do before. And it is hard because I have to love you and I've got to empathize that because you are not where you need to be, we can't be together. And there's nothing on my side. It's not my side on why we can't be together. It's on yours. So I'm going to love you from over here. Because if I get any closer, you're going to do damage onto me and my areas of focus. And that, I will tell you, I am struggling with. Because I know I can fix it. And then I gotta go, Amelia, that's your ego. You can't fix shit over there.
Love them from a distance.
Right.
Yeah.
I
And I'll just jump in to say that. Just to say this, that you've got to distance yourself from toxic people, just like toxic situations, because if anything, I just took a bunch of x-rays and CAT scans and everything else. You know what people did when they pushed the button to run it? They stepped outside. You know why? Because a limited amount of exposure to toxicity won't kill you, but prolonged exposure will. So hanging out with toxic people is much the same way. Prolonged exposure will kill your hopes, dreams, your emotional well-being. So you've got to limit your exposure to toxicity and toxic people. So yes, learn to love from afar.
Okay, girls, chime in.
I gotta add something, please. This is Sally.
Go for it, girl.
Oh my God, this conversation is like giving me life right now. I just love it. So, the other thing, you guys, is we teach people how to treat us. So if we have someone in our life, like I have 2 teenage daughters I'm raising right now. If I give my daughters even one little piece of, okay, I'm going to let you get away with that, I'm doomed. Okay? We teach people how to treat us. And I'm going to say one more thing. As I was going through my divorce and my transformation, there was a particular friend, we're talking about friends, right, that are toxic in our lives. We were toxic together. And as I started to transform my life and become a new person and dealing with my triggers and my childhood traumas and all the shit I went through growing up, she no longer was the person I needed in my life for that moment. So you know what I did? I gave her a phone call. I said, Sandra, now I'm going to say her name because none of you guys know her. She's a friend of mine for 40 years. Okay. So that's what made it difficult. 40 years we were friends. And I said to her, I can't be with you right now. I am getting my own healing. I'm dealing with my own healing and I can't be with you right now. I'm so sorry. So she got very upset at me. We didn't talk for 2 years. I put her on a shelf. That's how I looked at it in my mind. I put her on a shelf because I didn't want to never talk to her again. I just couldn't talk to her while I was going through my healing. I put her on a shelf. After I went through my healing and I was strong enough to be able to say whatever I needed to say, I got back with her as a friend. We're back to being really great friends again. But because I was healed enough to be able to be around her, to not be upset about her saying certain things, and being strong enough to say, no, Sandra, I don't do that anymore. Like, I love you, but no, I'm not going to do that with you. I'm not going to gossip. I'm not going to do what we used to do together in a toxic relationship. I'm not doing that anymore. And she now respects me enough to go, I get it. I'm good. Because I love you enough that I'm good. I'm not going to do that. So sometimes we got to put people on a shelf while we're dealing with our own healing. And then we come back to them when we're ready. So I just wanted to say that.
So I love that. So hang on, people. So Nate, this is the animal that I'm handing over. And I know because Nate and his social media show is supposed to take on over here at 12. Nate, are you there? Did I lose Nate?
I think he ran away.
Oh my God, did we chase him away?
No, Amelia, you keep going. You keep going, Amelia.
He's like, the segment's too good.
You keep going. People are loving it, Amelia. So you keep going.
Amelia, I can relate. I was with a man for 18 years. Very, very, very narcissistic and a misogynist. He was a woman hater. I thought I could fix it. And it just got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. This man squashed my voice. As you see, I'm getting my voice back because I just had to get this out. It is so hard to walk away from somebody you have a relationship with, or you're so much in love with this person that you want to fix them. They gotta want to fix themselves. And he didn't see anything wrong with his actions. And I'm like, you know what? I'm out. And I do love him from a distance. I literally live across the street from him right now. You know, he calls me up. I'll go visit him and stuff because I'm at the point now to where I can tolerate his company. But when he starts pulling his toxic bullshit and running his mouth, I gotta leave. I said, that's just, I'm strong enough now. I just walk away. It's like, you know what? I'm not listening to this shit anymore. And that's where I'm at with that. Sometimes you just gotta leave people where they're at because they're not ready to fix themselves. And when somebody doesn't see anything wrong with the actions, you gotta leave them where they're at and just keep it going, keep it moving, dust it off.
So Nate, as we move this over to this thought and this mindset as it relates to social media, I would like to leave this little knowledge nugget. You know, in the social media world, you have the control over the content that impacts you. And what you choose to follow, what you choose to see, what you choose to partake in, where you choose to comment, all of that is a choice. And the algorithm is watching and learning. And so if you partake in content that isn't moving you to where your areas of focus are, if it's not moving towards the things that are your should and your shoulds nots, if it's not feeding in that energetic genius living, then you're being distracted by normally your greatest temptations, right? And so when we do audits, I love to audit what I have allowed to get into my eyeballs, right? What it is that I'm scrolling, what it is that I'm looking at. And a lot of times I got to go in and do a big unfollow, right? Unfollow and unsubscribe, because that stuff does not work for where I am going. And I don't know if you have any thoughts and opinions on that, because I know social media is really you guys' world. But I when people tell me they want to feel differently, the first thing I say is follow different people. And I'm passing over the mic.
Amelia, I will grab that mic, because what a profound and powerful concept that you just laid out there, that a lot of people, if they think about it, they're going to understand it, but often we don't think about it when we are on social media and anything we do in social media. Amelia, amazing hour, and everybody flash your mics for the amazing conversation that was being partaken of, and we're happy to continue parts of that conversation for sure. I don't know where